May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Uh, Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osaya anakitawaya, Ohio, I see you, kamsamida, namaste, habarigani, manut, Aquaba, Itasen, Jambo, Mimini Kofi, Nina Franco, Katana Nueve, um, Bakwatav, Barakalat Sham Yahaba, Teda Yasle, Kwam Yasle, Teda Achiat at Zion, and I Kofi, Headed of Servants of Christ, Mashalom. Hey, hello everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for spending some time with me on this rising. We appreciate you. Some of you coming on over from Early Rising Bible Study Session. We appreciate you today, and I'm excited. I don't think I changed the theme for today. So the theme for today might be off as you're coming in, but that's all right. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. And thanks for spending some time with us on this rising. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We give all praise and honor once again to Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful for everything that she's doing to help the diaspora as we continue to try and grow as a people and continue to grow in our health. Once again, you can look her up on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. If it's your first time with us, we appreciate you. If it's one time of many, if it hopefully it turns into that. If it is not, we're thankful and grateful to everybody for being on with us today and getting some of this lesson that we're continuing to go through. Right now, we're not in the middle of any series. We have many different playlists and things, of course, you can catch up on YouTube, which is videos in general, shorts, etc. We have many different things on TikTok and on our podcast. And those who are joining us on the podcast later on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, we appreciate you all. That being said, let's go ahead and get into today. And thank you to the moderators, Minister SOC moderators. I bow down to you, ministers. I thank you for everything that you do. Those who do stuff behind the scenes, we are grateful to have you here. And we thank you again for joining us today. That being said, let's say hello to everybody real quick and let's get into this word. How you doing, Stephen? How you doing, Sister Nadine, Minister Nice, Brother Alton, Molly? Let's see, Sister Deborah, Forever Young, Big Brother Thomas, Minister Tamara, Keith, Molly, everybody on here, everybody. JIG or J exclamation point GS. Everybody, if I miss your name, charge it to my head, not to my heart. How you doing? Kavita, Pinky Gigi, Brother Taryn, per 7867. Thanks for being part of the community. Sister Sherry up there in the Northeast. Thank you guys for being on with us. How you doing? My wife is on. Once again, you can always check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And if you missed our Early Rising Bible Study session, you can find it on recorded on Patreon. And for those who missed it, and if you just like to be able to listen to it, that's something we don't mind giving the link to. But those who are Patreon members, it's already up there and posted for you. Praise Yah. I think that I say hello to Sister Mignon. Not sure if I did. If not, hello again. Or even if I did, hello again. All righty. So today we're going to talk about something. This is the topic for today. We're going to say open in case of emergency. Open in case of emergency. And what I want to talk about today is wipe the dust from your feet, right? Open in case of emergency, wipe the dust from your feet. I was trying to figure out, I kept hearing this word over and over again, or these words, open in case of emergency. And I went to all these different places and I was like, okay, well, we should have our Bibles open all the time. And I was seeking, I was asking, I was praying, I was asking the Holy Spirit, like, okay, we have our Bibles supposed to be open all the time. Okay, are we supposed to open ourselves up to the Most High? We open. And I started realizing that we need to open ourselves up to something I was shown and hopefully this will make sense. Hopefully the context will make sense, that we need to start wiping the dust from our feet, and it will help us. We need to open ourselves up to wiping the dust from our feet. If it doesn't make sense right off top, especially if you don't get the biblical reference point, hang in there a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to put this together. How you doing, Sister Sage? How you doing, Sister Tori? How you doing, Sister Latoya? Charlotta, everybody who's coming on. So in case of emergency, you might want to start wiping the dust from your feet. Wiping the dust from your feet. Wiping the dust from your feet. Now, wiping the dust from your feet is extremely important, because one thing that you will find about dust or dirt is that not all dirt is created equal. It sounds weird. Just roll with me a little bit. If it sounds odd, I promise you it'll get fixed up in a little bit. You said if they don't accept the interpretation when you leave their home or their city or walk or CD walk, what, the things from your feet. Okay. So yeah, so wiping the dust from your feet. There are certain things that don't translate. There's certain dirt that things do not grow in. Right? If we want to start there, there's certain dirt. Amen, Brother Jeff. There's certain dirt that things do not grow in. And there are certain ways that seeds should be planted in dirt, or else it will not grow in. Right? And there are certain temperatures that dirt might reside in, as far as being in a part of the world. There are certain dirts that things may reside in that they should not be in. Right? If you're going to grow cacti or cactus, I don't know if it's cactuses, cacti, but there's certain things that we should. I don't expect cactus to grow in certain areas, at least not year round. Right? There's certain. Let me put it like this: there's a difference between dirt in the United States of America and dirt in Ghana. Right? Certain things don't grow in certain places. Right? Not just because somebody hasn't taken the seed and moved it, but there are certain things that just don't grow in certain places. There are places to where there's vegetation that grows in the ocean and does not grow anywhere else, right? There's certain vegetation that grows inside of animals. There's certain vegetation that grows on animals, right? If you look at a sloth will have certain things that are on it. If you look at a turtle, you'll have certain turtles that have things that grow on it. If you look at certain types of crustacean, they might have certain types of things that grow on it, right? But not everything grows everywhere. How you doing, Sister Anna? Thanks for being part of the community. So if things don't grow everywhere, there are some things that are not intended to grow everywhere. That also means that if I'm carrying dirt from one place to another, if I'm carrying things, I have to be careful that I don't carry everything from one place to another. How you doing, Jenny? Right? I must be careful that I'm not carrying certain things from one place to another, right? Because dirt from the wrong place might carry bacteria that goes somewhere else, and there's nothing that takes care of that bacteria or stops that bacteria or eats that bacteria. And so now bacteria that should have never been somewhere has now been spread somewhere else, and now it's out of place. How you doing, Romac? And how you doing, Darius? Right? There are certain things that do not belong in certain places because they should not be allowed to take place or grow. Right? We see this with invasive species. We only think about animals when it comes to invasive species. So I will talk about animals, but we're talking about animals, right? There's a lot of invasive species. For example, I'm doing well. Life of Blind Man. Thanks for being on. There's certain animals that have become invasive, that are invasive species. For example, Florida is one of the biggest places that we know of as far as invasive species, because many people in Florida are in the black market and buy a lot of animals or bring a lot of animals that shouldn't be there. And whether it be due to storms or whether it be to somebody having an animal and the animal gets to be too big, or it's something they don't think they want to take care of, and so they let it loose. Now, a lot of things that are in Florida are not things that belong there. So there are types of deer that are there that should have never been there. There are jaguars or mountain lions that used to be in Florida that now aren't there because certain things are there. Matter of fact, human beings, because they don't know how to operate in certain parts of the world, they themselves have kind of become an invasive species. How you doing, Sister Deja? And so therefore, it's actually become difficult for our human beings to be in certain parts of or I'm sorry, for certain animals to be there, because human beings have now messed up things. They've messed up the water flow. There's too much water that comes in certain places now. There's a lot of stuff that's been, dammed or different things like that. And right, so you've got all types of stuff from pythons and stuff that don't belong there to poisonous snakes. You have different types of animals, as far as pigs. Pigs did not used to be swine, did not used to be something that was common in Florida. Now the swine, and because they eat and they overtake certain things, so now there's a whole bunch of swine that's over there that's kind of made it smart. There's a lot of stuff in Florida, right, to the point to where now they just tell people they've open season on certain animals. How you doing, Tinkerbell's dad? How you doing, Aswad? So there's a lot of things in a lot of different places. They have become invasive. The same thing happens when certain things come in dirt. There could be insects that come in dirt, bacteria that come in dirt. Maybe these things carry viruses, which means that disease can come in dirt, right? And so when it says to wipe the dust from your feet, see, open this word in case of emergency today. Some of us, for those who are going through emergency session, I want to tell you today that it is vital for you to wipe the dust from your feet. If we want to get back to holy ground, right, which is dirt, holy dirt, that's not supposed to be mixed with anything. First things first, you're going to have to wipe the dust from your feet. How you know, Minister? Thanks for being on. First things first, you're going to have to wipe the dust from your feet, right? If you needed this here. So first things first, you're going to need to wipe the dust from your feet, right? That Moses, before you go preach, right? How you doing, Sister Iska? Moses, Moshe, Musa, however you want to pronounce it. Before you go and preach this word to Israel and declare this word to Pharaoh, first things first, when we're trying to have this conversation, you're carrying things in here that don't belong here. How you doing, Sister Stacy? How you doing, Michael? First things first, to the prophet, right? We talked about this in another session. What was this, Friday, Saturday, whenever it was, right? Woe unto these prophets who are becoming stumbling blocks. You are living unclean. You are speaking unclean. You are coming into this with unclean dirt. It does not belong here. How you doing, servant of Yah? Thanks for being on with us, right? First things first. All right, am I carrying some dirt with me that doesn't belong? See, Yah doesn't mind dirt in and of itself. He made you out of the dirt. But in order to talk to you about what he's ready to do, and in order for us to have a vision and a word to speak on your journey, a word that's going to cause everybody who's going to walk with you through your wilderness. In your emergency situation, you are in a state of emergency. Moses knew, as much as movies tell us different. Moses had not just an idea, he had a comprehension. How you doing, Sister Tracy? Moses comprehended fully who he was. He was raised by his mother. He was raised off of his mother's breast. It was his sister who made sure that he was helped. It was hidden from others who he was, while he knew who he was, right? Moses was conflicted. He was raised as royalty, but raised as royalty by demeaning himself. He had to fall in line with the enslavement of his people in order for him to reach royal status. Does this sound familiar to you? That I have to, in order to get twice as to get half as much, I got to do twice as much, because even though I'm trying to get to what they consider to be royalty, I have to go ahead and be bound by enslavement of myself, my own people. But if I'll be a good house Negro, I might be able to make some money. My business might flourish. I might get, I can. This is where you get your Condoleezza Rices. This is where you get your, what is the sister's name? The one, Candace Owens. Right. This is where you get your two sisters that are posted up. This is where you get that brother. I don't even know his name, but the older brother who's always trying his best to tell you why you shouldn't be black. Right. Why white men are the reason why black men have anything, or why there's anything in the world, and how we always copy up for them. This is where you get these people from. This is where you get a fresh and fit to where they don't even like themselves, but are trying to tell you to be a high value man. That means in order to be a high value man, I must be in line with the oppressor. How you doing, Sister Monica? Right? Like, but this starts, and this even goes to some of the stuff we were talking about for early Rise of Bible study sessions. Sham meeting him, Ham, right? Sham going with Ham, right? When we're talking about Shem, Sham going with Ham, or Shem and Ham, right? Like we this is where we get some of this stuff from. How you doing? Love, thanks for being part of the community. This is where we get a lot of this stuff from, because we are so busy trying to make an impression upon the one who gave you the impression in the first place, right? Who impressed upon thee that who you are is not important in the grand scheme of things. This is why you're still working so hard to make sure that the oppressor is teaching you, and you're getting mad that he will not teach you. You're getting mad when she wants to look like you but will not bow down to what you're supposed to bow down to. Who will tell you that your hips and your nose and your skin needs to be changed, but then once you change it, they do everything to now say that they are you, that will not admit to you that before they dumped some tea off and wore some blackface and threw some water, thank you for the love, appreciate it, threw some water off the side, will not admit to you, or some tea into the water off the side of a boat. They will not admit to you that, oh, well, you were actually, according to our standard, according to our law, you were the original American. How you doing, shoppers? See, and we're dealing with that today. But see, in case of emergency, the first thing you got to do is wipe the dust from your feet. See, Moses, you knew this isn't a thing of you didn't know who you were. You knew who you were. You even ended up offing Kemetic guard, if you will, who was oppressing your people, right? You ran away. You actually, if you know the story of Moses, right, go into the book of Jasher a little bit. If you know the story of Moses, you'll even discover Moses was not just 40 years in the wilderness doing nothing. Moses actually became a king. You lived as royalty, ended up getting captured, right, to be able to make sure that your father-in-law Jethro would carry favor, and then eventually to let you out, and Jethro let you marry his oldest daughter, right? You knew customs of Cush. You knew that there was people that heard about this bush and this holy place that the Most High was supposed to be on, but you finally came into contact with it, right? It wasn't that you had no idea who you were, but you finally came into contact with the one who created all. And the first thing that Moses had to do, Moses saw the bush and he said, let me go ahead and check out this bush that burns but is not consumed. He even studied it long enough to see, well, wait a minute, the bush is burning but it's not consumed. There's something different. This does not make sense in the physical. This does not meet scientific qualifications. This does not mean this. Something about this is not what I was taught in school. Something about this was not taught by my mama. Something about this was not taught by my mother who took me in. Something about this was not taught by the pharaohs and by the greatest schools, some would say at the times. I might even argue this is not 100% true, because there's other places in Alkebulan or in Africa that would be different. But hey, there are things that I'm learning, right? That I learned at the highest seats of education, the highest education I could receive in the world, and therefore receive. How you doing, Ramon? And yet, for some reason, how you doing, Casey? And how you doing, Dennis? But for some reason, I'm seeing something that doesn't quite add up. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. I'm seeing something that doesn't quite add. It doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't seem to fall into the category that everybody told me it is supposed to fall into. Something about this isn't making sense. Everybody told me this is what it was going to be, but something about this isn't making sense. Everybody told me if I just read the Bible like this, if I prayed this much, if I went to church like this, if I wore this type of robe, if I sung this type of song, if I bowed down in worship, if I did praise and worship, if I danced till I came out my clothes, if I did this, but I'm finding something that seems to operate differently. And I'm having some people, when they find this, they have a mental breakdown. Some people, when they find this, they say, man, I realize I don't need to be in the system. How you doing, J-Mac? Some people, when they find this, they say, this thing that I found is greater than everything else. And the first thing we start to do is move. And Moses began to move, but then he heard a voice before the movement happened. How many of you have heard that voice? Come on, somebody, right? How you doing, spiritual bro? Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing, King? right? And hopefully, if you guys are traveling and do whatever you're doing, you're staying safe out there on the road, right? And everybody joining us on the podcast, on YouTube, on TikTok, and later on Facebook. Facebook, we appreciate you, right? How you doing, Sister Casey? Right? Y'all saying it's time to move, or we say it's time to move. Y'all says it's time for you to stop for a second. Wait a minute. I found this out, so I got to move. Y'all said first things first. Before you start moving, break, right? In case of emergency, I need you to wipe the dust from your feet today. In case of emergency, they normally say break open glass. I want to tell you, in case of emergency, wipe the dust from your feet, right? You're going through something and you've seen that you're supposed to move different. Y'all said, but before you move, how you doing, LaShonda? Right? How you doing, Sister Patricia? Before you move, first things first, wipe the dust from your feet. Once again, there's dust that carries things from other things. Not all dust created equal, right? One of the things that I do, one of the things that I've learned to do, and this is very cultural, but it's something that we should all do anyways, right? One of the things that I've learned to do is whenever I see a doormat anywhere, not only do I wipe my feet going in a place, a lot of times I wipe my feet going out of a place. How you doing, Big Roy? Because I don't want to carry things that don't belong. It's a cultural thing, but it's important. How you doing, Charles? Right? Especially when I'm going in somewhere. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's the store. I don't care if it's somebody's house. I don't care if it's a residence that somebody's allowed me to go into. Even if it's a place where it's in a zoo or something, I'm going to wipe my feet going in because there's certain things that I shouldn't carry in. Right? There's certain things that I might not have intended to pick up. How you doing, Tahiti? There's certain things I might not have intended to pick up, right? But they picked up because of my walk. See, and the feet represent what's going to lead you on your journey. Oh wow, amen. Come on, Sister Jenny. Praise God. I love that. Come on now. Right. Like your feet represent the journey. And see, back then we weren't wearing Nikes, you weren't wearing Reebok, you weren't wearing Puma, you weren't wearing, you were wearing what you would now call slides. Right? How you doing, Sister Amanda? You were wearing what we call today slide. And by the way, just as a reminder, we will. I know we might have less participation because of the way everything broke down on Saturday, but we will be doing in the same place, meeting in Georgia, same place Saturday. Let's say this Saturday, this time 3 o'clock, just to be safe and give everybody extra time so they don't have to rush. We will, no matter what, we will be there this Saturday, 3 o'clock p.m. And we're actually keep us in prayer too. We're going to look at some land later today, try and take some pictures and some videos and stuff, and at some point share it with YLP83 family and go over some stuff. And those who are helping out behind the scenes with some of the stuff, we'll make sure we have a meeting set up for you guys too. Okay, but just letting you guys know, we are looking at going today to look at it. I think about 4 o'clock p.m. So keep us in prayer. Prayerfully, it was really rainy yesterday, so prayerfully it's all right today, or else we might have to postpone it one more day. But we're looking at trying to look at this land today. Praise God. So keep us in prayer with that. All right. How you doing? Be the change you need. Thanks for being part of the community. Right. So wipe the dust from your feet. There's a path that you have to walk every day. And sometimes you're in the world, but you're not of it. And so you keep trying to come back home. You keep trying to come back to this spiritual residence. You keep trying to come back to this physical residence, to Yashda'al, to your family, to some of you to pulpits, to some of you to your organizations, to your communities, whatever it is. But you keep dragging stuff back that's not supposed to be there. How you doing, Prince? And if you're not careful, you keep bringing this stuff back, right? There was a reason that when you came into somebody's house, we would wash the feet. How you doing, Jamar? Right? You would wash the people's feet as they came in. Why would you wash your people's feet? Why would you wash your nation's feet? Why would you wash the foot of somebody? Well, for multiple reasons. Number one, we don't want a bunch of sand or dirt or whatever we're dealing with, depending on where you are, to be drug into somebody's house. Yeah, you got to leave it behind before you move forward, right? So we don't want that coming to somebody's house. Also, right, you might end up laying down in somebody's bed. Well, you got to make sure that you're not bringing your dirt and stuff into somebody's bed, right? Also, when we would eat, when we ate, we might actually eat to where we would be on. Usually, usually you would lay on your side, right, and you would use your right hand. So you might get ready to eat, and you might be eating like this, depending on how many people are there, or whatever. And you might actually be using your hand. I'm not saying we never sat up and ate at all. I'm not saying that we never sat on our behinds and ate. What I'm saying is that in our culture, this was actually to eat like this, right? You think about Greco-Roman pictures and stuff, but there are many of our assemblies, our branches, our families, our kingdoms that would reach their hands in and eat, and not eat with a fork and knife. You would eat with your hand, and it wasn't just what you think of as finger foods. If you had peanut stew, if you had jollof rice, if you had anything in between, right? If you had um, yuca, or whatever, right? You were eating everything like this, right? Which means that if my body is like this, then my feet are going to be up. So my feet have to be clean, just like you wash your hands, or we would dip our hands in the bowl, right? You wash your hands, you wash your feet, because your feet will be at the table. See, so in that in and of itself, when my feet that are going down my path, you said that's how your younger daughter eats. Yeah, and it's something that, by the way, is natural in your body. It's not bad. You know your body is equipped enough to where you could drink. Many people have done keggers and stuff like that, right? Where you can drink doing a handstand. Your body has the ability to be able to digest food, even if it's upside down. So on your side is not necessarily the worst thing for you to do when you're eating, right? And in our culture, it was all right. It was all right to be able to eat the way that we ate. So my feet had to be clean because I didn't want to bring it into the house. The word avda, or even ba'at or bit, if you want to use that character in Hebrew, it doubles not only for family, it also, or for house, it also means family. So I've got to be careful that I wash my feet when I'm on the path. I've got to make sure I'm cleansed. The word in Hebrew, clean, means to be legal. Even when you see this word, or lawful, even when you see this word in what you call New Testament, and you'll hear this stuff called sound doctrine, right? Sound doctrine. It means what? Sound doctrine is talking about. That word sound doesn't mean what you think it means. You hear sound, you go, oh, okay, it sounds great, or it's sound, it's solid. But that word also means lawful or clean. Even the Greek word is a word that is hygienikos, which means that you must be hygienic. So your doctrine should be hygienic. It should be clean. It should be legal. It should be lawful. Yes, right. We just don't know culture. So once again, but see, in case of emergency, you're trying to go through all this stuff and you're trying not to be lawful, but you got to wash your feet. Yeah, if you want to get to the principle thing, the principality, even, right? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against origins. You've got to clean your mindset. You got to wash your mind. Yes, you might have to brainwash yourself. You might have to wash all these things that are going through your mind. And you not matter of fact, I wouldn't even say brainwash. How about mind wash? You need to be clean. You need to have a lawful, a legal mind, so that when you're making these declarations or these requests, right? These prayers, these petitions. What is a petition again? A petition is a request or a demand made upon the government based off of your constitutional rights. How you doing, Truth? Or how you doing, Brother Allen? How you doing, Brother Jermaine? How you doing, Billionaire Hillbilly? If I didn't say your name already. So what I'm hearing is this means to remove what may hinder me in moving freely in my next place. That definitely is some of it, sure, right? A renewed mind, yeah. But first things first, right? So once again, we wash the feet because we don't want to go on all over the house. The word house doubles for the word family. So our family has to be lawful or clean. Yeah, we don't want the prince of the air. By the way, that's why you got to be careful what's on the airwaves. This is why even when we come on the airwaves, or what you might call now TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, maybe the radio, some of you still might listen to the radio. Radio's kind of not what it used to be, right? But whatever, all these different platforms, right? Satan is the prince of the air, right? He's not the king of anything, but he is the prince of the air. And so you even got to respect when you come on his platform, right? You got to make sure that, remember, Moses, in the midst of all this stuff, all these mountains, he's dealing with Cushitic people. He has a Kemetic upbringing. He's been a king even before this. He's been locked up. He's had all the stuff that comes into him. And now here he comes talking about what? How you doing, Evan? Thanks for being on. Here he comes into a new place, a small place probably, in comparison to all these other places, a place that seems to be hidden, but the most powerful being in the universe has decided to reside there, right? And and all these things, Moses is in communion, about to be in communion for the first time. He's heard about Yah. His people keep saying there's going to be a deliverer. He was raised by his mother. He was checked on by his sister. He was aware of his family lineage. He was aware of what he was adopted into. He's done all this stuff. He's finally said, okay, I'll just be a shepherd. And now that he's been trained to be a shepherd, Yah says, now go back. It's time for you to go back to the sheep. But first things first, Moses, before we can even talk about what your next step is, before we can deal with this emerging situation, before we can deal with you don't know who you are, before we can deal with you're going to have to go back to the people who probably want you dead, before we can deal with the fact that you're going to have to try and give a word to your own people who are going to be upset with you, because when you bring this word to them and when you go before Pharaoh on their behalf, on behalf of me as Yah, as behalf of him as Yah, he said, first things first, you got to be prepared. You're going to have to wipe the dust from your feet. You can't bring in any, look, all that stuff is fine, but I want you to wipe the dust because there's some things that you're about to bring in here that are not lawful. Right? There are some things that you're about to bring in here that are not lawful. You're about to bring some things in here that are not culturally accurate. How you doing, Brother Anthony? Right? You're about to bring some stuff in here that's messy. You're about to bring some stuff from other places that have dirt, and all you've been doing is taking your walk. All you've been doing is walking. You've been walking, right? How you doing, Jid? You've been walking. How you doing? Right? You've been walking, but now there comes a place before you do what you're about to do, before you go on this journey, you can't even talk to me unless your feet are clean, unless what you're going to walk with, right? We walk by faith. The word live and walk are interchangeable in the Greek, right? So when you hear most people say, when we walk by faith, not by sight, they're saying we live by faith, not by sight. In other words, you're going to have to clean up the way you live. Yah's going to bless me and this and that. You're going to have to clean up some things. Right? You might not like my saying it, but it doesn't make it any less true. You are going to have to clean up some things. I don't care how worthy you are in your mind. I don't care how many times you've prayed and you've sought the Holy Spirit. There's something that's not clean. Because why? We're supposed to renew our minds daily. Every day we're supposed to crucify the flesh to find something else that doesn't need to be there and make sure that we take it away and that we allow it to be cleansed. See, we are so busy telling everybody why we are anointed and not realizing that we might not necessarily be in a position where it's time for us to be appointed because we're not clean. You can be saved by grace for sure, but you still have to work out your own salvation, right? Romans 10:9, saved. Romans 10:10, you're still on your way to right lawful standing, or what's called righteousness, and on your way to salvation. That means Tion, noun, person, place, or thing, has to be what? Salvaged, become this original intent. You're still on your way. It didn't stop. So I'm with you, right? But it didn't stop when we got saved. And many people have stopped when they got saved. Yah said there's something I need you to do that's going to cause you to have to wipe the dust from your feet. How you doing, Spike Me? How you doing, Rabbi? See, there's going to be some before we can even talk about certain things that Yah has for you, before Yah can have certain dialogue with you, before the Vak HaKodesh can be able to minister unto thee. You're going to have to get clean. Have you not even thought about in baptism? In baptism, part of what's going on is you're getting cleansed. Right? I know people don't want to equate this to baptism, so be it. But fine, just take this as if you say that the context is not baptism, take this as a context of cleanliness. Hey, dip yourself in the Jordan 7 times. Right? Was this Naaman? Was this Naaman? right? If I'm getting the name wrong, please forgive me. But you need to dip yourself 7 times. I don't want to dip myself. Now, this man was considered to be great. He had everything going on. The king loved him. The king respected him. Everybody respected him. He was a man of valor. He was a man who valued his position. He was a man who worshipped his gods, all that stuff. But he was a leper. It says all these great things about him, but then it says, but he was a leper. He was doing it, but he was a leper. Right? So he said, but so and one of the young servants in the house that was an Israelite said, hey, if the master of his house, Naaman, if he really wants to get rid of this thing that's causing him to die slowly, if he really wants to get rid of this thing, have him go to the prophet in Israel. Now, at first, this was something that was heard. It was heard and it was brought up to him, but at the same time, it was looked at as kind of weird. But it's why would I go to Israel? But okay, whatever, because Israel's supposed to be serving us. How you doing, Sister Elion? Why would I go to them? But nevertheless, they go there, and he doesn't go to the prophet. Who does he go to? He goes to the king of Israel. And he sit with all his gold and silver and gifts, and he's given I forget how many outfits, something like 10 regal and royal outfits to be able to wear. I mean, he coming in, he's stunned. And he comes to the king, and the king of Israel starts to rend his clothes, and he starts to cry. He thinks that he's come to kill him because he's like, this is a joke. You're asking for me to heal you? He's like, I don't have that power. Just because I have a title doesn't mean I have the power. Oh, somebody got missed that, right? You got to clean your thought process on that. You go into the title and not seeing if the person has the power, right? He thinks he's there to unalive him. He thinks he's there to take him out. He's like, what have you come here to do? Are you come here to take me out? Right? Have you come here to take me out? Have you come here? Right? There's an emergency. In case of emergency, you might need to wipe the dust from your feet. He said, look, you got an emergency going on, and you're about to make my emergency your emergency. He says, don't come to see me. Go see the prophet. And Naaman, once again, Naaman now in his mindset, because he has the wrong thing he's carrying with him. He's carrying, I'm powerful. Everybody looks up to me. Everybody says I'm the man. Everybody says that I'm in demand. Everybody says that I'm loved. Everybody says that I'm righteous. But he won't, and so he says, hey, man, anybody should want to heal me. Why am I going? Look, because really the king bows down to Naaman. The king of Israel at that point was bound down to Naaman. Naaman is over the king. And Naaman is basically a hop, skip, and a jump as far as authority from the king of in that sense, the king of kings, as far as their lowly standards were. Naaman is sitting up there grumbling now. Why am I going to go to this prophet? Why am I being disrespected? Didn't they see all the stuff I came with? You might have to wipe the dust from your feet. Didn't they see all this power? Don't they know how many views I get online? Don't they know how much money I make? Do they not know how much history I know? Are they not aware of how many people get blessed by me? This is Naaman coming in here, right? He got an emergency, but won't wipe the dust from his feet. In case of emergency, you might need to, instead of breaking open glass, your break open glass might be to wipe the dust from your feet. You need to get some stuff. Naaman is sitting up there. How you doing, Yas child? Naaman's up there. Naaman's coming in with a mentality that's going to cause him to lose what Yah has for him. His being holy or being whole, being healed is about to be something that is lost. Right? His being whole, being healed, being purified, being able to do what Yah has called him to do is about to be totally lost. Right? Humble himself. The meek shall inherit the earth. We talked about that recently, right? He's about to lose all this stuff because he can't humble himself past what he's seen. He's got to have his feet washed. He's got, right? His path needs to be washed. He's got to be mind washed, not even brain washed. He's got to have a new mind. How you doing, Sister Veronica? And so Naaman finally goes and sees the prophet and gets even more frustrated because the prophet doesn't even come outside to see him. Wait a minute. So you mean I'm the man and and you're not even going to come to see me? All right. Like I'm above the king of Israel and he sent me to you and you're not even going to come outside to see me? You're going to send one of your servants or one of your apprentices out here, somebody in training to become a prophet. You're going to have them just run out here to me like I'm nothing. And then the person says, dip yourself in the River Jordan. And Naaman's response is, man, I could have just stayed where we were and dipped myself in that water. He was like, Jordan. He's like, what makes Jordan rivers better than my rivers? You coming in with a bad mindset, right? And all the rivers that you've been in and where you've been, and all the physicians that you sought to help you with this leprosy you've been carrying, and all the people who were telling you stuff. It was the Israelite servant girl, young girl, right, who told you to come over here. And in all that, she was the only person that told you there's guaranteed healing. Here you are coming up on your guaranteed healing to get out of your emergency situation. And because you feel like somebody's not telling you you're all that, you're going to go ahead and die of leprosy. Think about that. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. How you doing, Laura? I want you to think about that. You have something that literally can be, depending on how you look at leprosy, your pigmentation is leaving, you're becoming sick, you might be losing body parts, you might be dealing with the flesh-eating virus. There are different versions of what leprosy is, but these are all things that obviously are not cool, right? And yet you finally got to a place where you can be, and it had to be his boy, his servant, his right-hand man who came to him and said, look, bro, look, you the man, I work for you, you know I got your back, and if you say we go, we go. But let's just be honest, bro. If somebody where we came from said, put yourself in some water, you would have put yourself in some water. We here, we might as well try it. I mean, you got leprosy. You're already dealing with stuff that's hurting your body. What harm is it going to do to go in the Jordan River like they said? And so he says, all right. And some of us, we need, and if I can put a pin in that, you might need to make sure, this is why we're so big on being community and not just knowing each other virtually, but actually meeting each other and growing with each other and having meetups in different places and people calling each other. This is one of the reasons why we're big on that, is because if he didn't have a friend there who looked past his little status for the second and said, look, man, even if you fire me, even if you get mad, look, he could have offed him. He could have said, man, who are you to talk to me like this? Because he's already upset. This man was in a position where he could have taken his life. He said, I love you enough, bro. Let me tell you about yourself real quick. Like, you look crazy, bro. You about to stay with stuff killing or stuff offing you, stuff making you sick. You're about to keep that up. You're about to deny healing. We came all this way, and you're not gonna come get what you came for, because you don't like the fact that somebody told you, and really it's not even that they told you dip yourself in the water. You don't like the fact that the prophet who gave you the remedy didn't stop everything they were doing to make sure that you felt well. In case of emergency, you might need to wipe the dust from your feet. Are you carrying some stuff that's causing you to not be healed? Are you carrying something that's causing you to not hear your husband, to not hear your wife? Right? Your marriage is this close to not making it. And here comes a word from Yah. And because you haven't wiped the dust from your feet, well, I'm the man. Well, you know what? I don't need no man. Well, you know what? Like, women don't listen anyways. Well, you know what? Men, they don't ever really listen. They're not emotionally available. Well, you know what? Our women don't act like their women. Well, you know what? Our men don't have the credit scores their men do. And you're so busy demeaning each other that you're really close to getting healed and coming out together. And you can't do it because you're not even in a position to listen. You're at the water and won't dip yourself. And I praise y'all that Naaman had a friend that said, bruh, what would it hurt? You're already on your way out. What would it hurt at this point to just try and taste and see that Elohim is righteous? I know that's not what it says exactly in scripture. I'm putting scripture with it. Okay. Right? What would it hurt if you would come outside of yourself for just a second? If you would come outside of what somebody else told you your culture was, if you would come outside of what everybody says, right? Some of you don't listen to people because you think if they don't have, what is the American dream, a house, a white picket fence, and 2.5 children, right? Some of you say, I don't listen to that person. Some of you won't listen to somebody who's got relevance for you because they don't make enough money. But somebody who makes money, who is not trying to help you at all, you listen to them. Some of you won't listen to somebody because they're a Democrat or Republican, even though they're making sense. Some of you won't listen to somebody because they're too white or they're too black. Some of you won't listen to somebody because they're not Israelite enough. Some of you won't listen to somebody because they're a female. Some of you won't listen to them because they're a male. Some of you won't listen because they don't identify with whatever, right? But at the end of the day, y'all might have a word for you. How you doing, Craig Oreo? Thanks for the love. He might have something for you that's about to change your life. So Naaman finally listens and he goes into the water. And then he has to go through the obedience part. He's being obedient. How you doing, Sister Keita? He's being obedient while simultaneously not liking what he's doing. This is why I always say a saying to us yesterday, and I'm going to say it again, right? You don't have to like me, but the word says you have to love me. Like and love are not the same word. There's times I might not like myself. I better love my wife. There's times I don't like myself. I better love myself. There's times I don't like myself. I better love my children. Love is the action. See, sacrifice or obedience is better than sacrifice. Sacrifice, a lot of you sacrifice all the time, but you sacrifice once. Obedience is when you sacrifice over and over again. And matter of fact, when you get to a certain level of obedience, nobody has to tell you anymore. It's just a habit. Right, obedience over feelings. That's a great word right there, right? When this thing becomes habitual, nobody's gonna stop you. A lot of people want to start their own business. Do you know how great a work habit you have to be? If you think you had great work ethic so you could make the money you were making on the job you have to have a better work ethic for when you're going to be doing it on your own, because you pay you. A lot of people mess this up. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. A lot of people mess this up. You think that when you start your own business, that it's going to be easier to make sure that you're on time. No. Like, it's easier to get into what you're doing possibly, but you must recognize, right? Like, there is no, like, watch this, on the job that you have, you can try and say, okay, somebody this or somebody that, or maybe I can get away with this, or maybe no, there's no, I can get away with, there's no, hey, it's okay if I steal this pen, if I steal this pack of papers, you stealing from you. You hear what I'm saying? Like I can't, if I try to call in, right? If I'm feeling, I just don't feel like going into the job, and I say I'm gonna call in. Okay, maybe somebody can take my place that day. If you call in with you, who's gonna take your place? See, you gotta, before you can go into business for yourself, you have to wipe that mentality alone. Yeah, the security blanket is gone, the safety net is gone. Yeah, nobody's watching over you, telling you what's going on. Matter of fact, nobody's training you. If you want training, you got to find training for yourself. You got to read up for yourself. You got to have to pay for it. Your I always forget this word. Your when you come on the job and you get on the job training for like the first 2 weeks, sometimes, whatever they call that. Thank you. Your orientation. You are your orientation. Like, you're gonna orient yourself with how stuff goes. How you doing, Brother Henry? Right. And so Naaman is doing something. He's dipping himself into water that he doesn't want to even dip himself into. He feels like his pride is still there a little bit, where, man, all these people told me to do this and all these people told me to do that, but he's let go of enough of it. And he's got to dip himself, not just once, not just twice, not just thrice, right? Not just 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, but he's supposed to dip himself 7 times. And 6 times he does not see any change. Yeah, we're always a work in progress, but I didn't, right? And I want you to catch this part too, to put on top of what you just said, Amy, right? Like, because what you said is powerful. However, let me just put a little extra on it. We're always a work in progress, but what if you're working and the progress doesn't show up that day? You're working for yourself now. When you're working for a company, you can at least say, hey, well, the company made millions today. Right. But what if you're working for yourself and you've had, this happens to me because I'm a Levite, right? So I don't have a 9 to 5. So this is just what I do all day, every day, right? Whether it's teaching, whether it's one-on-one coaching, stuff like that. How you doing, DB? This is what I do. Thanks for being on, Clayton. Appreciate it. And there's months where your boy's in the red. Right? This is not its typical business plan, right? I'm not employable by what I do. How you doing, Ryan? And so I might have to go through months where I'm like, I don't, and I'm telling you, doubt creeps in. I know preachers and it's people who are into manifestations and speaking certain words and doing this and doing that. I know there's people that are going to tell you that they've never dealt with that, or they don't deal with those things. They don't deal with those items. And if you doubt that, it means that you don't have faith. I'm here to tell you, you have to be courageous enough to go ahead and still walk your walk, even when you doubt. Mm. Come on, Craig Burrier. Praise out, right? Like, you're going to have some doubt. Do you have the courage to keep it moving, to be obedient, to wash yourself, even though you're not seeing any physical change? Keep washing. The obedience is not only for manifestation, it's for habit forming. Somebody missed it. See, some of you don't do. You are obedient as long as you see something that you say that says, okay, my obedience pays off. But what if obedience pays off 50 years from now? Right? What if obedience pays off to where you don't just date here or there, but you're going to talk about being married for decades? What if the change that you say be the change you want to see? What if the change that you want to see takes a generation? This is our problem, is that in the microwave generation, you think that everything's supposed to just happen today. I'm not saying you shouldn't get anything out of the equation. You should get something for your trouble. You should get something. The workman has worked there higher. You should be getting something. But what I'm saying is like, watch this. I've told y'all what the vision is as far as the land. SOC can have land all over the country, all over the world. And make sure that we do it in a place to where we don't have any enemies to really worry about as far as financially people think that we're coming for them, because we're just trying to stay separate, do our own thing, and we'll protect ourselves. But hey, you do you, we'll do us. And people can leave you alone, right? And do this all over the place. That doesn't mean that I'm going to see it all before I close my eyes one final time. And I have to work in faith, right? What did we talk about the other day? Faith and works in business. I have to work in faith, right? As if it's already happened. Because not all this is for me. Matter of fact, some of this stuff that I'm talking about, you guys contact me. And when I see you guys and when we talk and stuff, and when we do our Zoom lessons, or when we talk about stuff in class, and when I hear testimonies, and when we have the children give testimonies, when they're learning and they're doing their sessions, and we're hearing from you guys that the stuff is manifesting in your life. So just because I'm speaking something doesn't mean that that what I'm seeing is something that's going to show up in my house. Amen, Ernestine. How you doing? And Naomi, how you doing? Shalom to you. Right? But it doesn't mean that just because I don't see that, I stop. So Naaman goes down the first time, nothing happens. Goes down the second time, nothing happens. Does it sound familiar to you? Because you might go down the third time and then don't see anything. And you go down again and you keep going down. You keep waiting to be healed. You keep submerging yourself in the spirit, in the water. You keep going down and being obedient and worshiping. You keep going down. Sometimes you lose it. You're going down. I'm losing money this month. I'm losing friends. I'm losing this. When is something going to happen? But when it came to the seventh time, he finally went down. And when he came back up, it said he was cleansed. He was lawful. Jericho, you had to go around it 6 times and be quiet. The 7th time, they were quiet again. But then after they were quiet the 7th time, then they made a joyful noise. And the wall came coming down, right? Like and to everybody watching them, it doesn't make sense. But see, it's you got to recognize. See, watch this. What are we talking about today? In case of emergency, wipe the dust from your feet, right? And it's not everybody's emergency. See, like we talked about with culture. Come on, Molly, right? Like we're talking about with culture. It's not everybody's culture. It's not everybody's emergency. I can't be frustrated that everybody's not going to be obedient to what I'm obedient to, because it's not everybody's emergency. You got people all the time. Oh, when we say, well, you're not even aware of what our people go through. And somebody says, oh, I'm fully aware. No, you're not. You don't live it. But I'm not expecting you to be obedient. As I was saying before, I'm not looking for you to wipe the dust from your feet, because this is not the ground you're trying to walk on. I'm trying to walk on holy ground. Whole ground, one ground, solid ground, not the sand, not in between the water, the sea and the land. I'm trying to step on what? I'm trying to build on my foundation I'm trying to build the house on the foundation that is the rock. It does not move. It does not operate as far as getting flimsy when vicissitudes of life come in and swells up. It remains solid. It's separated from things that are wishy-washy. I'm trying to be Peter, not Simon, right? Simon means leafy. Peter means solid. When Simon Peter would mess up, Yehoshua would address him as Simon. You're leafy right now. When he would do righteous, he would address him as Peter. You're solid right now. How you doing, Freddie? How you doing, Everett? You see what I'm saying? We have to get to a place to where we're ready to be cleansed. You got to wipe the dust from your feet. You got to wash your feet off. You got to wipe your feet off. You were carrying something that could be causing your demise. Moses is standing there and he sees the bush that's burning. He's seen it already. He says, I'm going to go check it out. And before he can get any closer, the Most High says, stop right there, Moses. I know who you are. I know what's going on with you. First things first. If you're going to come and get this holiness, if you're going to come and stand here, I need you to wipe that off. Right? I don't necessarily know exactly who I'm talking to out of everybody today. I don't know how many people I'm talking to when I'm saying this today. I don't know how many people this will affect later on after today. But I'm here to tell you, how you doing, Unbreakable? I'm here to tell you that whoever you are listening today, I'm here to tell you and to remind you, how you doing, Sister Toya? I'm here to tell you and to remind you that Yah is calling you, not just to walk this walk, but before you can walk even in his presence, you must be cleansed. Your feet must be clean. Wipe the dust from your feet. Wipe the dust from your feet. Come on, Sister Amanda. Wipe the dust from your feet. Wipe the dust from your feet. Okay, amen. Well, if we're dealing with addiction, guess what we're going to do? We're going to wipe the dust. Watch this. Watch this. There are things that you're carrying, right? Right? That there's a place on your life that you're supposed to go. And you're not going to be able to go there and still, because watch this, the spirit of addiction is the problem. It's not even just the physical addiction. We can get you off whatever the drug is. Or Yah can get you off whatever the drug is, or you can get you off whatever the drug is. Once you are able to get off the drug with the help of Yah, you still have an addiction problem if you're not careful. Right? We can't let the addiction turn into food. We can't let the addiction turn into porn. We can't let the addiction turn into, give me pats on the back. All those things, well, I don't say all those things. The pats on the back might be nice to have, and it might be your love language. What I'm saying is that if addiction is not taken care of, the spirit, the mindset of the pneumatical thought process of addiction is not taken care of, we still have a problem. Right? And so we're going to do some things to help to bring some tools to that, right? And hopefully if you're able to, like I said before, feel free to reach out and we can try and set up some time to be able to talk, especially if you're able to look on the link tree. If you're with us on YouTube or the podcast or even later on Facebook, you can always look in the description with the videos and be able to go ahead and connect with us that way. If you're on TikTok, you can look on our main TikTok page, clicking on link tree, and then you should be able to find information. You can text an email, we'll get it started. Snatch it out. Don't do that. Well, I guess depending. Don't be at the stores. People like, what's she doing around the fruit? but what I'm saying is, and all this stuff, right? You hear what I'm saying? Like all these items that we're doing, it's time that first things first. Yah is already ready to do something that's powerful. And first things first, though, he says, wipe the dust from your feet. Now, look, and I'm not trying to demean anybody because I've done this myself. So obviously this is contextual, right? Depends on the context. How you doing, LaFleur? Excuse me. It's obviously contextual, right? However, is it not interesting? Is it not even astounding when we realize we need to wipe the dust from our feet that many of us have gone to services, and at the end of the service, what do? We do an invitation. The invitation usually is what? First things first, confess and believe, right? Be saved. Second thing, hey, reinstitute relationship, right? Come back to Yah, which everybody should do, but only certain people do. And then third thing up there is what? Join the assembly. But the first thing, and so we just say, come to Yah, and that's true. Come to him, come to him, come to him. However, don't come but so close if you're not going to wash your feet, if you're not going to wipe the dust from your feet. How you doing, King Gal? King Galice, I don't know how to say it. Right? Don't come too close. How you doing, Brother Javon? Right? Don't come too close. And you haven't wiped some things off, because you might be coming into connection with something and you're not ready. You can't hear. You can't move. See, first thing we do, just come on. But first thing we got to say is, have you heard the voice? And what do you need to wipe off yourself before you come? Thank you, Nancy, and thanks for being on, right? Before you come too close, what's some things you might need to wipe? See, you haven't stopped cussing, so it shouldn't be important. It shouldn't be, I wouldn't say important. You haven't stopped cussing yet, so it shouldn't be surprising to us that you on the street corner cussing everybody out. Uh-oh. I'm not lying. You hear what I'm saying? It shouldn't be surprising to us, because you never stopped cussing anymore. And if you haven't stopped cussing, right, cursing, then it shouldn't be surprising to us that you still live in the curses. And if you still having a problem with and if you never were able to forgive, then it shouldn't be surprising that you're not able to forgive people that have forgotten that they even did something to you, and didn't even know that they needed to be forgiven, because they didn't even know that was something that they did that really messed with you. Okay. I'm just saying, you haven't wiped the dust from your feet. Every relationship you're in, every relationship has been everybody else's fault, and you have never had any fault with anything. I'm not saying that you've never been right, but hear what I'm saying. In your mind, you've never been wrong about one thing. How is it that you've never been wrong? How is it that you've never been wrong, but you expect people to make things right? Whatever you give is what you give out. If you always right, then you can't be mad at everybody that you get with is always right. Matter of fact, by you guys who like the law of attraction, if you think you're always right about everything, then guess what? You attract people that are always right about everything. Going by your standard. If your standard is the law of attraction, we usually misread or misinterpret or misquote the law of attraction. But nevertheless, I'll do what people out there do. If you say that you attract whatever you give out, well, then if you attracting, you call them good for nothing Negroes. Y'all don't use the word Negro. You say something else, right? But if you attracting them, then you might have something in you that's, I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't want a name call. I'm just saying we might need to stop first before we keep coming. So some of you are so busy getting close to Yah and have never thought once, do I need to wash my feet? My feet not only are what comes around my family, my house, right? Because the word house in Hebrew is also double for the word family. So I wipe the dust from my feet when I come in, right? The house, but also I wipe the dust from my feet. Why? Because I could be carrying something from somewhere else, that disease or something. This is going to help to make sure that the house is cleansed or is lawful or is legal or is prepared for those that are coming in. How you doing, Tay? But then on top of that, remember, once again, if I'm eating on my side as we used to, and I'm laying on my left side and I'm having conversation, I'm eating with my right hand, right? That means that as I'm eating, my feet need to be clean so that stuff doesn't come up into the food. And if I'm not careful, because I don't wipe my feet, because I'm not making sure that I'm cleansed, because I'm not making sure that I'm on point, if I'm not careful, what's going to happen is that I start to eat the things that I should have never even brought into my family, into my house. Hallelujah, somebody. Come on, that's a word. I might be eating something that should have never even gotten to the house because my feet should have been cleansed. Yah says, Moses, before you come in here, I can't even feed you right, boy, until you make sure that your feet are clean. I hear him talking to somebody. Hey, daughter, son, brother, sister, pastor, apostle, bishop, whoever you call yourself, rabbi, whatever. I've got something for you to feed my people and to feed yourself. But you better clean your feet because you keep pulling up to the table. And yes, I prepared the table for you in the presence of your enemies, right? But if your feet aren't clean, then you still can be dirty. The feet also represent your path. What path are you walking? This is when it gets dangerous. Everybody's saying the same thing when it comes to God. We don't worship God. We worship Elohim. God is a Germanic deity. You can make God whatever you want, but Elohim, or some of you still say Elohim. That's a different ball game. And he says there's only one way. There's only one truth, and there's only one life. This is why he said that the enemy comes to steal. This is John 10:10. The enemy comes but to steal, to kill, and destroy. But I have come that you might have life. But wait a minute, I'm alive, aren't I? But you have no life. But wait a minute, I do this, I do that, but you have no life. I've been on vacation. I've dated this many people. There's only one life. And you're in a society today where they say, live your best life. But if to live my best life, that means there's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. How many lives do you have? You have so many different mentalities. How you doing, Brother TJ? How you doing, Black Steel? You have so many lives that you live. Uh-oh. I'm up in somebody's pantry right now, but I'm right about it. You have so many lives that you live. Double-minded. I'll live this way on Monday, and I'll live this way on Tuesday. How you doing, Brother Ricky? Brother Ricky on here. Please follow Ricky McCoo, great musician, great friend, great man. If y'all was just thinking about the other day, I was looking at one of his pictures, always got a smile on his face. Right? Some of us live so many lives. He said, I come that you might have life. I've come that you might have life. I didn't come that you might have this or that. And there's a lot of people that are going to lie on you. So what? That's not there. That doesn't mean that's what I've said about your life. You said, what are some practical applications of wiping your feet? Well, once again, we just talked about it, right? We're being practical. I don't believe in being so mystical that we're not practical. So practically speaking, right? Like we just talked about, right? Why are you worried about what everybody else says? First of all, why do you live your best life? That's a mindset that we have, that we carry, that says that I should be one way today and one way tomorrow. People say I'm balanced, but I'm not balanced. I'm very unbalanced. I'm very unbalanced. How you doing again, Brother Anthony? I'm very unbalanced. What do I mean by that? I mean that I'm not trying to be just as great as I am evil. I want to be as close to perfect as is humanly possible. So I don't want to be balanced. I want my wife to have so much perfection from her husband that when he's imperfect, it's a blip on the radar. Right? Or even peculiar. But peculiar people want to be righteous all the time. Unpeculiar people are people that want to just fit in. Right? So even in that, practical application, like we talked about before, why are you trying to be a United States citizen when you could be a sovereign or a non-citizen national or whatever you want to call yourself? Right? Why is it that you think, as I was talking about earlier, why is it that you think that the school system is supposed to teach your child, but you are supposed to teach your child? Why do you think that the school system is supposed to spend as much time teaching your child, sometimes more, as you do at your job, but you don't think that it's your work to make sure your child is educated in the ways of your people? By the way, who are your people? Thank you for the love. Right? Like, these are practical applications. Same stuff we've been talking about. And by the way, same stuff we've been talking about for years now, right? So obviously some might get there. You said feeling low, feeling anxious, stuff like that. Well, why do we feel anxious? A lot of times we feel anxious because we're expecting something rather than thinking that life is taken care of. We're thinking that something else or somebody's going to take this or, okay. So for example, many people live paycheck to paycheck because they don't do something as simple as say, I'm going to make sure that I have certain things that I'm going to be obedient to no matter what. Right? Many people do the same thing with Yah. They live miracle to miracle, paycheck to paycheck, rather than Yah gives you something. He gives you something miraculous. He gives you a way to do something. And instead of just making sure that you do it and are obedient to it, you say, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to be this today. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to wait on his next miracle. Right? How many, watch this, Ambia, and thank you for the question, right? How many people, it's a great question, actually. I just, there's so much stuff that I'm going through. It's sometimes hard for me to slow my mind down, right? Like, think about this. How many people, right, are going to eat food today and are going to ask the Most High to bless their food? They're going to pray over the food before they eat it. But the food is not real food. And they know it's not. And they know it's going to cause more harm than righteousness. They know it's going to cause more harm than righteousness. But they're still going to eat it. Now, they know that it's not food that they should eat. How you doing, User Cheryl? Right? They know that this thing is something that's going to mess your body up. You know it's modified. You know that it's not even legal to have some of the food you're eating here in other countries. If other countries saw what was on your plate, somebody would get arrested. That's how terrible the food is that you're going to eat. But you're going to put it on your plate, and you're going to go ahead and or have it on your lap while you're traveling, and you're going to try to scarf it down. But before you do, you're going to pray over it, right? Because you need Yah's protection. But he says, first things first. You got to wipe the dust from your feet. If I gave you natural law and natural food, right? That's why the sin of omission and commission, you hear people say that in the old school. Yeah, you don't stress anything, you just press. Yeah, like you see stuff because why? And now watch this. Somebody can eat some food that causes anxiety. You can eat some food that messes with the temple. How you doing, Sister Mary? How you doing, Auntie Mary? How you doing, Keith? You can eat food that helps with anxiety or that causes anxiety. And thank you. Is it? I guess it's chocolate 777. Thanks for being on. Right? Like you can eat food that causes anxiety. You can eat food that causes stress. Matter of fact, if any part of your body is messed up, your body goes into stress. If your body goes into stress, your digestive system doesn't even work. At least not correctly. You know that, right? And your body doesn't know the difference between I'm stressed because I can't afford to go on vacation. I'm stressed because I can't afford my bills. I'm stressed because they're about to kick me out my apartment. I'm stressed because I'm about to lose my house, even though I got 2 payments left. I'm stressed because I'm being chased by a wolf pack. Like your body doesn't know the difference. It just knows I'm stressed. And so now you'll start eating stuff, trying your best to deal with the stress, and you'll start eating stuff that has fat. Fat deals with when somebody is doesn't feel loved, right? People have studied you. They've studied our eating habits. They've studied us, right? So they've studied you, and they know what happens with your body. They know, you can look it up. They know that if you are unloved, you're going to want fat. Now, what does fat do? Whether they want to look at it from a creationist viewpoint or an evolutionary viewpoint. Fat is something that's stocked up in your body, right? When you are feeling like you need protection. So if you feel unloved, what do? Right? If you're feeling unloved, you're not feeling protected by anybody, right? Matter of fact, if we look at the 6 basic human needs, after the 6 basic human needs, the number 1 and number 2 need for a man is what? Respect and sex, right? That's one of the things that helps him to feel loved. Those 2 things are going to be like really important to him. If you go by the 6 basic human needs diagram, he's going to be looking for respect. He's going to be looking for love. He's going to be looking for respect, and he's going to be looking for sex. Why? Because sex is important to him, even just as far as physiologically. Like he gives seed if he's healthy. If a man is healthy, he will give seed and he will have great blood. And if he has great blood flow, he will be able to be erect for the rest of his life. From the time that puberty hits until the time that, as a matter of fact, a baby that has great blood flow, they get erect, right? Like if you see a baby with an erect penis, sometimes you guys assume that it means that they're going to urinate, but a lot of times it's because they have blood flow. Right. So if they have blood flow and they have seed going, that's what a healthy man will do to the day he dies. So it's important to him just on a physiological level that the person he's with helps him to be able to do that. That actually is something very important to the way he's designed, right? And even if you don't, right? Yeah, even if you don't um, have sex with somebody, you will have a wet dream unless you're somebody who's masturbating all the time. But you go through a period too. So when a man's not having sex and he hasn't had a chance to have his seed flow out, right? Just like if a woman, when she's having a period, it's when the stuff flows out, right? With no life given to it. Well, if a man has sex and there's not going to be any life and it just comes out as a wet dream, guess what happens? You start getting the man that's grumbly and he's frustrated. He's all over the place, right? That's his number two need. His number one need is respect. So when when he says to you, I don't feel love, right? As basic as you might think what I'm saying is, because obviously there's the 5 love languages what Derek got from Dr. Gary Chapman and other things to go along with this, right? I'm just talking about the 6 basic human needs. When he says, I don't feel loved, one of the things you can easily look at is say, are we having sex? And does he feel respect? You might say, oh, that's too simplified. How you doing, off grid? That's too simplified. You trying to do this, you trying to do that, you trying to just get women to be sex slaves. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying he shouldn't do things to deserve sex. I'm just telling you that's the way he's designed. Whether you like it or not, he's designed to give seed until the day that he dies, eternally, so to speak, because he's supposed to represent our Father in an earthly vessel. And the Father gives seed eternally. He has no beginning and no end to what he gives to cause manifestation. This is why even time and stuff had to come into existence out of eternity. This is why matter had to come out of what didn't matter. This is why somebody gonna catch this stuff. This is why matter had to come up with didn't matter. This is why there's now space for what there was no space for, right? This is why there is time when there was no such thing as time. Because even the Most High is so great in his regeneration and his giving seed that he had to even plant seed into places that you and I couldn't even see. He plants seed into the things that don't even exist yet. So that when you catch up to him, see, this is why we're talking about the other day. Was it yesterday? The other day, we're talking about every seed, there's a tree, and every tree there's a seed. Right? And the seed has everything in it that's necessary for the tree to exist. This is how a husband and a father and a man in our culture, an adult male in our culture, this is how he operates. This is how he's supposed to think. He's supposed to have a vision that is something that even his wife might not be able to see at times, but it still protects her on the way to what is not seen. This is why when she has faith in the vision, she should have faith in the vision that is covering her already, even though she can't see it. That's okay. We'll leave that there, right? But do you hear what I'm saying? Like, these are practical applications of wiping the dust from your feet. You're going through an emergency situation. You're going through anxiety. You're going through stress in your body, as your body saying that all of my systems don't work. My cognitive systems aren't working. But let's just go into the ones we talk about. The digestive system's not working. The respiratory system's not working, right? The endocrine system is not working. The circulatory system is not working. Right? Like, these things, when one of them breaks down, the whole body begins to break down. It's like I'm in the household. Yeah, I'm trying to tell, because it's the principle. The principles are Elohim's principles. They work everywhere. It works at your job. It works in your work. It works with your family. It works with yourself. It works in the kingdom. It works even when you're in the world, but not of it, because you're still of the kingdom, even when you're not in it. How you doing, creations from the soul? This is once again, though, it's a cultural reference point. Right? Two become one. Watch this. One allowed two, so two could become one. That one could make two, so that two could become one. I mean, it's a you see what I'm saying? Like, but you got to wipe the dust from your feet. He's trying to get you to be into something that is eternal. See, watch this. How many times do you keep looking for a new thing? When he says that I'm trying to get you to do something that I've been doing since before the foundation of the world. I need a new type of love. I need a new type of love. You get in your 40s and you have your midlife crisis, and now you're looking for a young girl. I need a new love. When you don't know how to renew. It's always new. If it's eternal, it doesn't lose what it started with. The tree was always a seed. It never left It never stopped, right, with what it started with. It never lost it. If it lost it, it only lost it in what we call currency, or your agreement with the system that says that it's not as valuable as what it used to be. But it never lost its place. It never lost its flavor. It never lost it. You are the salt of the earth. What point of there is there to salt if it keeps losing its? You are the light of the world. What point is the light if you keep putting it underneath? You are a city that's placed on the hill. If everybody's supposed to see you, why you keep trying to not be? Are you catching it? Come on, somebody. Hallelujah. Right? In case of this emergency you're going to, you need to wipe the dust from your feet. You're coming in with a different dirt. You're coming in with a different mentality. You're coming in with something that doesn't even make sense. You are supposed to be fruitful. Fruit is designed to have seed. When Yah plants a seed in you, right? It's so that you would become the tree planted by the rivers of water that in its season would bear much fruit. And your fruit is not there just so everybody can eat it and say, look at how nice that fruit tastes. Look at how many degrees that person has. Look at how many times that person got this many awards. Look at how many people celebrate this person. Look at how many books they sold. Look at how great their business is doing. The fruit is designed that seed would go forth so that there would be more trees, more people like you, and more seeds. See, this is why we're talking about, what's the context of this? Context, really, we talked about this in our membership series, right? If you're going to be a member of what we're doing, or even when we're talking about sovereignty, everybody's always saying, well, sovereignty, give me this and give me that and give me this and give me that. And yeah, we'll give you all those things, and you can take the classes, and I don't mind doing one-on-one coaching and all that stuff with you, and we can do some stuff behind the scenes, and all that is great. All that is excellent. All of it is excellent. That being said, right? Sovereignty, when I'm talking about it, now, many people, you can be sovereign and do stuff just for yourself, by yourself, and leave everybody alone. But see, I'm just going to be honest with you. One of the things that when I'm talking about sovereignty, I'm talking about nation building. So we might be talking about sovereignty, but we're not talking about the same result. We're eating some similar fruit, but see, the seed I'm talking about is going to do some different things. You hear what I'm saying? The seed I'm working with is going to do some different things. I'm trying to cause fruit to grow that's going to cause the seed to grow that the nation continues to go. Some people are just okay with fruit. Some people don't eat fruitless seed. I'm sorry, eat seedless fruit. Matter of fact, there is no such thing, because technically, in order for something to be considered to be fruit, it must give seed. Anything that gives seed is considered to be fruit. You guys know that, right? Y'all know that, right? Like anything that gives out seed is considered to be fruit. Right? In a sense, I'm not saying this as a scientific reference. In a sense, right? Giving you a parallel, a parable, if you will. In a sense, that's why you have the fruit of your womb. Right? Where does the fruit? Why is fruit go in there? Because your womb is designed to what? To carry seed. Yeah, so seedless fruit isn't even fruit. Right? But you would say it's organic. But once again, the word organic doesn't mean it's real. It just means that it is attached to something that once was alive. It doesn't have to be alive. You can have an organic person that doesn't have a heartbeat, but that's an organic person. They were once attached to something that had life. Matter of fact, when the person is dead, right? If that person shows up and they're DOA, or we show up and they're DOA, what does that mean? That means that the spirit and the soul already left. We just dealing with the body. That's why they got to get a glorified body when they come back. Yeah, if there's no, so seed, in a sense, once again, I'm just trying to get you to comprehend. I know this isn't scientific exactly. I'm just trying to get you to see a parable, okay? In a sense, the earth is fruit because you put the seed inside of it. Right? You got to put seed inside something. Seed has to grow inside something. Seed has to be somewhere if it's not in the dirt. And that's what we're saying. See, I'm trying to get you to see it in that regard, because what are we talking about today? In case of emergency, wipe the dust from your feet. See, some of the dust that you're carrying, it can't even have seed inside, or not the seed that you want. right? I can't put cactus seed in every dirt and all dirt. There's seed that grows under the water, that grows, because coral is not technically vegetables, right? It's not vegetation, but there's some of the seed that only grows on coral or around coral. And if coral doesn't make sure it does stuff around it, it won't even grow. Until a month ago. Oh, I missed the first part of the scene. I'm sorry. I saw the a month ago part. A month ago, and so you're going to have to do. Hopefully, you will see. Okay, I missed part of that, Ernestine. I apologize. Right, but if it's what I only see part of it. Sometimes TikTok, for whatever reason, like blocks certain things or says that it doesn't like certain things that people are saying. So I might have missed what you were saying. I apologize for that. I don't want to talk too much on that and not know exactly where you're coming from. So I don't want to make an assumption on that. All I see is a month ago. And so I'm going to have to divorce him, and hopefully you will see Jehovah in his something. That's all I see. So if you're dealing with that, even in that, if I don't know if they're saying it's cheating or something like that, and now you've had to make a decision. And look, if that's what's there, then fornication was committed. And as long as you've decided that you're going to make sure that you're going to go into purity and chasteness and stuff and get yourself together, and you've done things in the righteous way to protect you and your family. I see a child in the picture. That's why I say you and your family. Prayerfully, you won't be committing adultery, and you'll be purifying yourself. And if you're saying he needs to seek Yah's will. Yeah, TikTok filters. That's the word I'm looking for. They filter stuff. But but on top of that, now it's time, well, and all that stuff, now it's time to stop. And this is what we're talking about for all of us. It's time for us to stop and to hear Yah's voice. And for some of us, what he's saying right now is not go this place, do this, run this business, make this much money. For some of us, what he's saying is wipe the dust from your feet. I mean, I hear it as clear as day. It's like a bell ringing in my ear. For some of us, what he's saying is it's time to wipe the dust from your feet. Be still and know and be intimate. The word know means to come into intimacy with it. Be still and know that I am Elohim, right? Some of you are trying to get somebody who you don't know to move on your behalf. And I'm not saying people that you don't know will not move on your behalf, but most of the time, people who you don't know don't just move for you. Be still and know. You running and jumping and doing all this and declaring and decreeing, you need to be still. Be still and know and be intimate with. That's what that word is saying. Come on, Sister Collins. Be still and be intimate with this thought process that says what? That I am Yahweh, that I am the Lord, that I am Adon, that I've got this. Yeah, Yahweh is not. See, we have this weird thing in our mind that a prayer automatically moves Yah. But once again, what is a prayer? It is a petition. What is a petition? A petition is a request or a demand made upon a government based off of your constitutional right. James chapter 1, verse 8, a double-minded man is unstable in all their ways, or in all his ways. Read James chapter 1, verses 5 through 8, and you will discover that it says that if you praying for stuff and you do not live in a manner which Yah can receive your prayer, he will not receive your prayer. But if you're going to keep lifting up the prayers to somebody that you don't live as if you know them, then your prayers do not go any higher than the ceiling, and therefore you're double-minded. And if you're double-minded in your prayer life, you're probably double-minded in everything, because a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That's the context of that. But you only take the one part of the double-minded man. He got cognitive dissonance. He's always saying that, she's saying this and then doing this, all the stuff that you say. But see, first things first, he's saying that when you come before him in prayer, Moses was going to the burning bush. He said, first things first, Moses, I need you to separate yourself. I need you to recognize not only is what you're seeing different, I want you to know that who you're about to hear from is different. Wipe your feet off. You're about to eat something spiritually. That's the context of it. But because we don't bring any culture, right? And therefore we deal with this Romans chapter 13, Romans chapter 10, verse 13 through 16 piece, which we don't get, right? Anyone who calls upon the name of the Lord, they shall be saved. We get excited about that. But how can one be saved if they don't believe? How can one believe what they have not heard? How can one hear what is not being preached? And how can one preach if they're not sent by the Most High? For how beautiful are the feet of those who are followers of the way. They've washed the dust off their feet, as Yahushua told us to. Remember, we just came out of Romans 10:9. If you confess and believe, the word confession in Greek is homologia. It means to have the same logic. If he said wipe your feet to those he sent out 2 by 2, and you haven't wiped your feet, then how beautiful really are your feet? How beautiful is the path that you walk? And it's even a play on word, right? Our Elohim, right? Yahushua, and his apostles, his preachers, his rabbi, they have bars, right? So you got to realize even, right? There was a temple, right? We had a temple, and there also was a gate at the temple, right? Called Beautiful. So if you're gonna go to worship at the temple, right? If Yah's gonna live inside you, who is the temple, how beautiful are the feet of those? I mean, you got bars for days. We don't even catch this stuff because we're not inside our culture. But how beautiful are the feet of those who walk in the way? And therefore what? So how much like the temple? See, and so therefore, how beautiful are the feet of those who walk in the way, followers of the way. And therefore it said, he quotes Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1 there, and he says, hey, who shall believe our report? Who shall believe our report? This is not for everybody. This is for those who have washed their feet and are not carrying certain things. See, you can come out of if you're not careful, you might be going to your church or your assembly or your camp or whatever you do, your family every day. But if you're not careful, you still bring pornography with you. Somebody need to remind you. See, you can come out of what you were in, but if you're not careful, you'll still be that person that's cussing everybody out because you didn't clean yourself of that. You didn't go through a cleansing process. If you're not careful, you're still saying that all these men are going to act like the man who left you and your child because you haven't cleansed yourself, and you're not even prepared for if a righteous man or an unrighteous man shows up, because you haven't cleansed yourself and found out by the standard of the culture that you're in, by the kingdom, what is a husband and what is a wife. You got to salvage. That's right. You got to go through your working out your own salvation. Right. And so you might miss what Yah has. Matter of fact, even if it seems like Yah has it for you, there's still a certain way you're supposed to go through, making sure that the marriage actually is worthy of taking place, which will make sure that you can vet the husband or the wife to see if they're worthy of you in the first place. You said you would do everything you need to do to be saved. You cannot worry and go ahead. Go ahead. You cannot worry and go ahead, say you are in faith. Well, yeah, you have faith in certain things, but what do you have faith in? Just taking what you're saying to the next level. Faith without works is dead. You should know the tree by the fruit it bears. If you love me, keep my commandments. You say I'm holy, or be ye holy as I am holy. We'll find out how holy you think I am. It doesn't matter if somebody uses this word. People will fight me on that. Certain words that you've used your whole life. And I'll say, that's not what you think it is. No, I can't stand you. See, you're one of those things. You're a legalist. You're this and that. Man should not live by bread alone, but by how many words? By some of the words, by 10% of the words, by the words that you like. Man should not live by bread alone, but by some of the words, right? Man should not live by bread alone, but by the words that you like in your personal lexicon. Man should not live by bread alone, but by what it is that you speak in your language. No, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that's uttered out of the mouth of Yahweh, of Elohim. Once again, this is another bar. How you doing, Brother Vincent? This is another bar. because he is the bread of life. He's telling you that you shouldn't live just by even your relationship with me alone, right? You say you know me, okay, let's see what your actions are. Let's see how you follow the word of Yah, if you follow every word. This is why he says, many will come to me saying, Lord, Lord. Many will come and say, Lord, Lord. And you say, I never knew thee. I didn't know you. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you. No. Not everybody who comes to me saying, Lord, Lord, I believe is actually closer to it, right? How you doing, Overcoming? Thanks for being on. Not everybody who comes to me saying, Lord, Lord. Why? And by the way, they say Lord twice. Lord, Lord. Adon, Adon. Yehashva, Yehashva. Yehava, Yehava. Why are they saying it twice? In our culture, say something twice, it means that you're saying, pay attention. Simon, Simon. Behold, the devil desires to have you, that he might sift you as wheat, but I prayed for thee. Right? Whenever you see something twice. So he's saying, just because you're trying to get my attention and then trying to tell me that we're connected with each other, it doesn't mean that we are. How you doing, Mr. 252? Every word will determine. Man should not live by bread alone. Yahashua is the bread. People don't like that. See, watch this. Yahashua, even though he is Lord, and even though he will have a name that's above every other name, matter of fact, he now has a name that's above every other name. Don't get it twisted. He is the bread of life, but don't get it twisted. He told you, I am the door. I'm trying to get you to recognize there's a kingdom. A king without a king without a domain has no kingdom. A king without a domain is a pointless king. Salah. Right? But people don't want every word. People do not want every word. People want a word that feels great. Oh, thank you, MYB. Appreciate you. People want a word that feels great. Right? If it's a word that causes me to have to change for the better, many people don't want that type of word, because now, in order for you to change, you might have to be accountable. Have you ever thought about what dirt you keep bringing? Instead of whose fault. Watch this. Let's say it's somebody else's fault. They poured dirt in your path, and you walked on the dirt that they threw down on the ground. You didn't intend to have this dirt. You didn't intend to have the dirt of somebody messing with you when you were a child, or somebody taking your first time without your permission, or somebody lying to you and saying that, there's a lot of sisters that got pregnant because somebody told them you can't get pregnant on your first time, or this and that, or whatever. You didn't think that was going to happen. How you doing, Sister Dre? You could find it was somebody else's fault. Somebody else emasculated you, and you decided you was going to be a pimp, right? Because even in the book Pimp, written by Iceberg Slim, he says that a pimp is nothing. Forgive me, this is for educational purposes only. He said a pimp is nothing more than a whore who's been turned down, and because he didn't like the way he got turned out, he started pimping other people. How you doing, user 881-771-816-0514? You said you heard the thunder and rejoiced last night because it reminded you that he's the king. Amen. Right. So, and welcome back, babe. How you doing? So this is, I'm just trying to tell you, like, it might not be your fault that you're in the dirt. It might not be your fault that you're carrying dirt. It might not be your fault that you're carrying the circumstances. And look, I'm empathetic. I might not sympathize with everything, even though I do have sympathy, right? But I have the empathy to say, hey, I get it. Look, you might have gotten the abortion because everybody lied to you and told you that abortions was this and that or whatever. You might have gotten drunk because everybody said, man, who cares about getting drunk or whatever, right? You might have started eating modified foods because you were fed them as a young child. You might have forgotten that taking care of your temple meant taking care of everything that Yah has given you in this body, right? You might have thought for a little while that, hey, spiritually, everybody's saying the same thing. And then you realize there's no way everybody could be saying the same thing. But even that being said, even if it was out of ignorance, you still might be carrying something that's controversial, and it's definitely counterintuitive to kingdom living. Your spirit, when you keep talking about your intuition, that's a spirit that speaks up, that's connected to the natural law, the kingdom law. How you doing, Zen Grower? Right? You got to we got to come back into remembrance. Remember, to remember means you were a member of something. Somebody cut off something. It was dismembered. They put it back together. You had to go through therapy and everything. And now you're able to use it. Even if it's not quite the same, you at least have it back where you're coming into remembrance. Right? There's something more. See, as much as this sounds sacrilegious to many, it's the truth when I say, because Yahushua said it, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that's uttered out of the mouth of Elohim. Some of you are only caught up in a relationship with the Christ, if there's even full membership or relationship. But you just say, I know Christ. And Christ says, not everybody that says that they know me is getting in. Uh-oh. He's looking for your faith. He also says your works are important. Right? Yes, it's not by works alone. Right? By the way, even when people say, we take this out of context, because we try to make grace, you try to change the interpretation and therefore the definition of grace. We say that grace means unmerited favor. But the word that they use for grace, even in the Greek, if you want to go there, the word for grace in the Greek is charis or charisma. So charis is who are you? Matter of fact, the word Karen, now people have changed the word Karen to mean something else too. How you doing, Srini? Thanks for being on. The word charis or charisma, it actually means who you are. So Karen is supposed to mean that somebody is who they are. This is who they emanate. It doesn't mean bad person. It just means who you are, who you emanate. Right? But now you think of it as negative. But the same thing, it comes from that word, charis, charisma. So when it talks about you were saved by grace alone, it's not saying that you were saved by unmerited favor. It's saying you're saved by the Most High alone. You got to wipe the dust from your feet. Wipe that out of your mind. Do a mind wash, not a brain wash even, but a mind wash. We need to wash that out where you keep thinking that grace means that, that means that it don't matter what you do. That's not what that means. Grace is talking about who the Most High is. Said people walking that rocky road, or be walking that rocky road despite being barefoot. I see, right? It's by grace and mercy. Okay, that's by who the Most High is and His mercy. The unmerited favor sounded nice in somebody's sermon, and everybody wrote it down for generations to come. And they've been preaching you something that's not true, right? Watch this. This is where people get undeserved or not undeserved. What's the word people talk about? Unconditional love. And no offense, because I know what people mean by unconditional love. We've had people preach unconditional love, and I get the context. I'm just trying to show you this is where that wording comes from. Okay, the wording unconditional love doesn't make sense, right? Because are you saying that Yah should love you no matter what you do? I keep buffering now. Okay, I don't know. Am I buffering for everybody? Am I buffering on Facebook or on YouTube? Am I buffering? TikTok is glitching. Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if we can get it back. Let's see if we can get this back. Oh, and of course it's trying to give me to load some video. Let's see if we can get this back. All right, but hopefully you guys will see it's great on YouTube. Okay. All right. I came back. Hopefully it's all right. Hopefully everything's better now. I don't know if y'all can see. Can you see me? Can you hear me on TikTok? Yes, no, maybe so. If so, I can try and put it on another signal. We're back now. Is it all right? Is it buffering still? Yes. Okay. It's okay. It's better. Okay. All right. I forget where I was. Somebody got to remind me where I was. Well, anyways, I think we might have been done. Okay. All right. How you doing, Sheena? So yeah, so when we're going through these things, we got to get to a point to where, oh, unmerited favor. On grace. Okay, so yeah, unmerited favor. So, oh, unconditional love. Is there really any such thing as unconditional love? Is love, can love even by definition? Let's look at just basic definition. Let's just say love is an action, right? If you're looking to see how somebody acts or somebody loves, how can you do that without conditions? It sounds poetic. It sounds great. Somebody puts the right energy behind it, and it seems like it's going to change our perspective to where we can be unconditional. Matter of fact, men say stuff like this all the time. They say, "Man, you know what? People give babies unconditional love. They give dogs unconditional love. They give all these things unconditional, but men don't get unconditional love. Babies don't. Babies don't get unconditional love because babies are mature." Salah. It's sorry for being a bad example. It's supposed to be pH, a decent pH balance, but it is in plastic today. I got to do what I got to do right now. Make sure I can't drink out of the stuff that was over here. I couldn't find anything last night before we came in here that wasn't in plastic, right? But can I say that again though? Babies do not receive unconditional love because they are mature. You'll hear a man say that, and it sounds great. Chris Rock said it. Sounds great. Hey, how you doing, Hidden? Sounds awesome when you hear somebody say it, right? With the right energy and everything. Like I said, you put the right energy behind it. But babies receive unconditional love because babies are selfish and they're self-centered, and they need to be at that point in their life. They must be. They cannot take care of themselves. So every time they open their mouths, right? It's there. When they even start giving you love back, or what you consider to be love back, and smiling and stuff, they're doing that as something that makes them feel great. Because when you give oxytocin, they get, or when you give them love, their oxytocin level rises, so they give you love, so your oxytocin level rises, so they can give it right back to you. But when somebody says, "Oh, women to give a dog unconditional love," well, it's because a dog is not an adult male. And by the way, you're still supposed to discipline a dog. I'm not saying you got to hit or spank a dog if you don't do that. I'm just saying you still got to discipline a dog. They go through training, they go to school. They're not supposed to just take it dump. Matter of fact, dogs don't like, unless they're very undisciplined and never taught anything, dogs don't like fecal matter to be in but a certain place. So even if they go in the house, they're normally going to go in the same place. This is why at first, when they're young, even a lot of people will get a dog used to going on newspaper, a puppy. And then after they get used to going to newspaper, you might even take the newspaper outside and they urinate on the newspaper or whatever. And then they get used to going outside looking for places. And then they look for specific places strategically, even sometimes just places to where they can go ahead and put their mark. But they don't want their stuff to be in the same place that they reside in. Right. So you make sure you have conditions even for your dog. But for well, it's a mindset that people are trying to or it's a wording that people are trying to use to control and manipulate a situation, because they don't want you to put conditions on them. They want you to love them without conditions. Matter of fact, the most dangerous man is the one that was raised as a boy, usually by his mother, sometimes by his father too, but usually raised by his mother, to be somebody that never had any conditions and was told, without having to go through the conditions that it took to become one, was told that they were the man of the house when they were still a 5, 6 year old boy. That's usually one of the most dangerous men you will ever run into. This is why fathers are important. One of the most dangerous men you run into is the one that never had a father in his life. And as much as he says he can't stand his father and he'll never become his father, he still starts doing some of the same things that his father did, because he never had somebody who said, these are the conditions. There's conditions to this. Unconditional love. So you got to wash some of this stuff out. I want unconditional love. There's sisters out there talking about, I want unconditional love. Where you get that from? If you're going to put conditions on him, how come you don't get conditions on you? There's no accountability going on. You say, how can you help your son going through that right now? Well, first things first. I mean, I don't know. So that's something that we have to be specific on. So I don't even know if I could address that online in this situation, right? However, when you talk about lack of accountability, it's the importance of knowing, and sometimes even doing something as simple as having boundaries and keeping the boundaries, including if keeping the boundaries hurts you. How you doing, Mwamba? Right? It means even keeping the boundaries. How you doing, Sister Joyce? Right? Like having boundaries, but then see, a lot of people start off by telling somebody a boundary, but then you don't keep the boundary. And what happens is over time, it was like, they're not going to keep it anyways. Why would I believe them? I'm going to keep walking over the line, because every time I habitually step over the line, they keep habitually forgiving forgiving me. That forgiveness is mandatory, but they habitually keep letting me walk over the line. If you tell me you're going to kick, and I don't know if I'm just giving this is an extreme thing. I don't know if this is what you've gone through, but if you tell me you're going to kick me out if I do it again, and then I do it 8 more times, and you keep saying, one of these days I'm going to kick you out, one of these days don't mean nothing to me, especially if you're dealing with a male, right? Especially if you're dealing with a male. One of these days, you got to train up a child in the way that they go to when they grow old, they will not depart, right? And even if you go back to verse 3 and verse 7, you can get more context on it, right? Like, for sure, right? But a boundary is extremely important. So once you get to a place to where this person's there, it's going to be really, especially when you're dealing with an adult or somebody who's getting to adulthood, you start really dealing with a fully formed person by the time you hit about 15 years old, believe it or not. Like at 15, we're kind of developing who that person's going to be. So anything after that, the development should be refinement. What happens to a lot of people have never been trained right, and so they get to 21, 30, 50. You got 50-year-old boys out here trying to get married for the first time, trying to have children, and throwing fits and stuff, and not ready to be fathers and stuff. They've never been trained to do this stuff. You're supposed to be trained to be a father in our culture by the time you're 21. Then we give you an inheritance, and we say, hey, whatever daddy does for a living, you should be doing the same, right? But if we're dealing with somebody that's past, 15 or so, really at that point, what I'm dealing with is I have to start dealing with boundaries and being in law. And if this is the law and you break the law, there must be consequences. For every choice, there is an invoice. For every choice that we make, there is an invoice. So if we make a choice and there's no payment for it, either way, if I make a choice, there's a righteous payment. If I make a choice, there could be an evil payment or a negative payment. Let's not call it evil, because it can be righteousness. Matter of fact, righteousness can mean that it's something that you like or something that you do not like. It could be something that is chastisement. It could be something that is pure exhortation. But I have to get to a place to where this is what it is. See, because one thing I've also learned is that it's not even necessarily about accountability. It's about if they even respect the person or the environment enough to be accountable to it or the rules of it. I'm going to say that again because somebody might miss it, and I'm going to give you practical application. What I've learned is that with dealing, especially with our brothers and sisters too, but the sisters are a little easier sometimes, in all honesty, when it comes to not just refinement, but even getting them to repent. The brothers, because they're designed to be leaders of environments, what I've learned is it's not even that they cannot be accountable. Hear me and hear me well. Some cannot be accountable at all. But for a lot of brothers, it's not that they cannot be accountable. It's often, are they willing to be accountable to the environment or the person? How you doing, B Little Speaks? Now, why am I saying that? What do I mean by that? Okay. You can have a brother. I've been here, done this multiple times, right? I'm not talking about once, twice, 3 times, 10 times. I'm talking about lots of times in my life. I've dealt with husbands, sons, brothers, um, people who work for companies, whatever, right? And what happens is this, is that that person has a job. They're on time for their job. They make money at their job. They can manage to pay enough bills to be in an apartment or whatever house, drive a nice car, even if they don't have their own house or whatever. They're able to pay their payments for their car, right? But then they treat their mother like trash. They treat their family like trash. They're not even there for their family, right? But they're disciplined. Matter of fact, there are brothers out there that can have multiple families that don't know each other. You know how, watch this. Can I say something? Do you know how disciplined you have to be to make enough money to stick to a script and to make sure that you make every single woman in that equation feel like they're all listened to? You'll be accountable to a certain thing, but you can't have accountability wholly. Right? I mean, I'm telling you, I've dealt with some really off stuff. I haven't just dealt with the stuff that's easy. I've dealt with some brothers that you like, I don't know how brothers like you exist, because I could never, you know. But I've learned to empathize enough to at least hear these brothers. And I'm telling you, you can have a brother that's very, see, we consider that because somebody's disciplined in one area, that means they're disciplined in all areas. Just because Kobe Bryant made sure that he was disciplined in putting the basket through a hoop doesn't mean that he was disciplined in whose hole he shouldn't penetrate. Prayerfully, he became more disciplined than that. I'm just telling you, right? Like, we make these weird assumptions, right? Just because Shaquille O'Neal became more disciplined and was dunking on more people didn't mean that he wasn't losing his marriage. To the place to where now, out of knowing he did his wife wrong, he paid for his wife's marriage to somebody else and had to go through the pain of that, while he's still out here not being disciplined. It's for educational purposes only. Might not be expected, but I want to show you, right, how real this stuff can be. We make the assumption that somebody is emotionally disciplined and sexually disciplined and spiritually disciplined because they got a 9 to 5. You know, we assume. Watch this. Some people assume that you're disciplined in your 9 to 5 because you're really disciplined when it comes to being a great husband or wife. How you doing, Sister Val? Like, we make assumptions that somebody's whole or holy because we see one area of their life or one area of their gifting. How you doing, Amadou Khan? Right? But just because you've seen somebody on one aspect doesn't mean that's who they are all the time. And what happens is, once again, we don't deal in this word. If we're going to use this word we like to use called holy, then we should talk about putting a W before that H. It needs to be whole. And so we don't develop whole people. Matter of fact, what happens with a lot of families now, especially because, once again, you've been forced into this thing where you have to give your energy and effort to everything except your family first. So what happens with a lot of us is we are doing everything we can to just kind of make sure somebody gets to the finish line. Like, for a lot of people, if they can raise a child and get them to high school and possibly get them in college, they got their hands up like, we did it. You know, like, for a lot of people, that's kind of it. Like, whoo, they made it. They got the degree, right? And like sometimes it's, oof, okay, they got their first job. Cool. They got a job. I don't even care if it's minimum wage. They out here working somewhere, or they out here toiling somewhere. Cool. And we're not even thinking what's going to happen with them. Did we raise somebody that 20, 30 years down the road is going to be ready? Right? We didn't even think when they were in the womb. Really, y'all looked at it before they were in the womb, but we didn't even think when they were in the womb, where we already eating certain ways, making sure that they wouldn't have certain issues when they got to be older. We didn't think what was the harm of them having that first McDonald's French fry with ketchup on it. Right? That wasn't part of the process. It was just something, hey, I'm just trying to raise them, whatever. Okay, they've been asking me, they've been seeing these commercials for these toys. All right, let me go ahead and get them a toy. If I get them a toy, they're going to say, well, can I get the fries? Let me go ahead and give them a fry. They get the fry. Then I'm going to get nostalgic. Well, you know you need some ketchup with that thing. And then I'm going to give them that. And before I know it, now I've got somebody who's had fat, salt, sugar and everything all up in their diet, and gets rewarded with a toy for it. Yeah, and that's not the end of it for you. Yeah, you still got to be there for guidance and everything. And watch this: you never stop being the parent, even if you're the parent that needs to be taken care of, even if they got to start putting diapers on you. you know, you never switch. Oh, happy born day, Sister Joy. That's right. You did say today was your born day. Happy born day to you. Praise God. July 3rd. That's actually one of my little cousins' born days too. Haven't seen him in a while. My second cousin. Right, but but what I'm trying to say is we have to wash ourselves of that mentality in our mind. We are trying to raise people with unconditional love, and then we have people that have no conditions, and they want to still be loved like that. We say, why are they being loved? Now, once again, I don't know if that's the person's situation who asked the question. I don't want to assume that. I don't want to make that assumption. Right. So once again, I definitely do not want to make the assumption, right, that this is what you specifically who asked the question, that's what you're going through. I'm just saying there's a lot of us who go through that. And when you get to a certain age, what has to happen is there have to be conditions, and those conditions must be met. And if they're not met, no problem. You just can't do certain things. Might even include you can't be in his house. They never, your great grandpapa told us so, and reminded grandmama he's still in charge. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, whoever did, like, yeah, and especially, see, watch this, especially if you put in. Like, if I put in, I can see different. If I ain't never given a dime, if I've never said anything, if I was a deadbeat father, if I never cared about what was going on, all this stuff, like, so be it, right? So be it. Like, treat me however you want to treat me. Say that you ain't got to listen to me, whatever. But if I put in, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm out here giving you the same word that if matter of fact, my son, he lives with me. If I'm giving more word to him than I'm giving to y'all, if I'm making sure that when I travel, he travels, if I'm making sure that I've been teaching him business, if I made sure I set up his YouTube page, if I made sure that I've been teaching him what it is to be a husband from when he was young, if I'm making sure that he's getting homeschooled and everything the way he needs to, if I'm making sure I'm sewing it, at some point, right, you're going to recognize. And if I'm teaching it right anyways, you're going to get it anyways. But once again, I'm the one sewing in. See, we have children that are trained, as was brought up with Proverbs 22, verse 6. We have children that are trained by other people so much that the people that train your children actually train them to not put you first. And really, they shouldn't put you first. They should always put y'all first. But you hear what I'm saying? As a child, the child should be looking at you as the example. How you doing, Sister Shima? The child should be looking at you as the example, as the one who I look up to, the one who's going to show me how to work this. How you doing, Robin? The one who's going to cause me to come out of confusion. The one that if I need a standard to look at, to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, never wavering, never being tossed to and fro, never building a foundation on the sand in between the land and the sea. If I'm going to be ensuring that I'm going to be getting that from somebody, right, then that should be the parent. But what's happened is you live in a society where everybody except the parent is put first. Y'all is definitely not put first, and you parents not even in the top 3. You don't believe me, right? But your child is talking to your teachers more than you. How many teachers does your child have? Even if your child's at elementary school, your child's going to deal with the regular teacher. They're going to deal with whoever the assistant is, depending on their grade. And then you probably got what? Do they have PE that day? Do they have art? Who's going to be teaching? Usually the PE teacher. Who's going to be teaching them about sex? It's not going to be you. They don't say, okay, it's sex ed. For the next couple of weeks, we want all the children. We're going to be sending them home early. We want all the parents to teach them, or hey, we want the parents to come in and spend some time teaching children about sex and having conversation with them. Mm-mm. They don't even necessarily want you to come to the school. They tell you because they want the children to feel comfortable, but they don't want you to sit up there knowing what they're teaching them. And they go way, way deeper. And right now they show pornographic videos of people actually having sex. They show them how to put the condom on. And before that, now they do some of the teaching in preschool to elementary school, depending on where they go to school, what state they're in. But then before that, now they tell them you're not supposed to tell them if they're male or female. So now they're watching two people have sex, and I haven't seen it. I've heard about it, so I'm just going with what I've heard. Right? I'm not trying to see it either way, but from what I've heard, now the videos are not just male and female doing it, but it's male and male or female and female. Yeah, we've adopted everybody's culture so much. So your child is not even raised by you. And that's the purpose. That's one of the purposes of the enemy. I keep saying this over and over again for the last few weeks. How you doing, T's 2 cents? People keep saying that the trick of the enemy, the greatest trick of the devil, was to get you and I to think he never existed. The greatest trick of the devil is to get you and I to think that he's just some weak-minded, doesn't know anything. He's all right because he's a defeated foe. That means that he has no power. Do you know how many devil worshipers there are out here keeping up for this stuff? Right? I mean, literally, not figuratively, literal devil worshipers. You see people walking around with a geometry symbol, right? With that Masonic G on there. On their cars. That whole saying, real G's move in silence, like lasagna, but also there's another saying, real G's move in silence, like Freemasonry. You see them riding by all the time. These people have positions of power. These people go to buildings that you don't even know are Mason buildings unless you're looking for them. These people are teaching at your school. These people are preaching from your pulpits with Mason rings. And when the Mason rings hit the desk, they be powerful. There was a bishop that showed me his bishop ring once, and I didn't know any better until about a year later, and I had started speaking against Masons, and I didn't know why he was so upset at me when I was publicly saying like that there were some things wrong with Masonry. And come to find out, I thought about it, and that ring, when I looked at it again, right, and I saw it on his hand, I had held it, but I didn't think about it. But when I looked at it in his hand, that was not a bishop ring. That thing had that G on it. I'm not saying he doesn't have a bishop ring, but he a Mason. And then I started thinking about in the back of his church, and I preached there once, a very long time ago. But I preached there before I played a lot of music there. I supported a lot of people who came there. I helped a lot with Bible study there. I remember now when I look up, I'm like, every time I was playing the piano and you look up above the baptismal pool, you got a pyramid. Yeah, there's a lot of Freemasons and a lot of places that you don't think about. And a lot of them aren't even, and here's the wild part, a lot of them are low ranking and stuff and aren't going to ever know what they're supposed to know. Remember the first, second, you ever heard, when you get into the stuff, third degree this, third degree that, or, reading somebody the third degree or not knowing anything past the third degree, all these sayings with third degree, it's because there's 33 degrees of masonry, right? The first, second, and third degree, you really don't even know anything. You just basically paying. Trying to be there long enough and do enough things to where they say, okay, we'll let you start learning a little bit now. But a lot of them, they don't know what they talk about, but they're Masons. So we have this assumption that every Mason knows what they're talking about. Not so. I've had Masons, right? I lost track with some of them on Kofi _ 40 and Kofi _ 42. I had some Masons that were trying to show up to stuff. They told me straight up who they were. They were like, man, I'm a Mason. I haven't heard people talk about stuff that you're talking about. But like, I know some of what you're saying is right. Some of it, I don't have anything, right? And they came to stuff. Some of them, I couldn't let them keep coming like they were coming. But some of them came to, some of them came to stuff. They didn't do meetups, but some of them came on some of the meetings we've had years ago now on Zoom. Because they wanted to know knowledge. And I was even willing, because Holy Spirit, I prayed about, Holy Spirit said to do it. And the guy ended up chickening out because I think they didn't like the other guys who were above him, didn't like what I was saying, so we never did it. Oh yeah, but yeah, Masons, there's a lot of stuff. Like even Like they have to be blindfolded and a lot of parts in and not every single place, but in a lot of the places, especially if they're bigger type stuff and they have more information in there, they're not allowed to even walk around and see certain places. Literally being led around blind faith. Yeah, you've talked with plenty and they have no idea. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some of them are even put in a position. I know one guy, his nickname was The Rock. They called him The Rock because no matter what happened, he was supposed to make sure, right? And he's not supposed to be The Rock, right? We know who The Rock is, but they called him The Rock. But the reason why they called him The Rock was because he was supposed to, every time, especially if it's something that had to do with something dealing with something they were doing. But every time really anybody started having any kind of conversation or argument, he was supposed to make sure he won no matter what. He was supposed to be a rock. He was supposed to be a hard place. Yeah, and our faith is not supposed to be blind. That was his responsibility. I'm not making that up. I ain't doing this, Barber. That was his literal responsibility. He was supposed to be the rock. He was supposed to make sure if you had an argument, he was supposed to make sure that you came away always you know how you run into somebody, no matter what, they have to win, even if it gets to ridiculous levels, even if you're like, yo, like you might have an issue or a mental health issue. Like, but that was his responsibility. They called him the rock. So he wasn't supposed to do anything. Like, that was his main thing. So he wasn't supposed to let it. Now, you had a question about anything they were doing, he was supposed to be the rock. But also he did it in regular life. It became part of his life. That's what he signed up for. How you doing, Claudia? So I'm just trying to tell you, like, you like, there's a guy that my cousin used to be a caretaker over, and he was a former Mason, or like a Stonewall, right? Yeah, this guy I'm talking about now that my cousin took care of in his last days, basically, and he was going through dementia, and he was going through, just he was just losing who he was, but he would give out secrets. So he would just start yelling out secrets and talking about this and that or whatever. Stuff that you thought was right. Have another family member. This is somebody who's since passed, many, many decades ago now. But somebody who's in our family, I never met this person, but I was told of this person and how they passed away. This person was going through stuff, and they were a former Mason. They were actually somebody who offed people in one area of the country, moved to another area of the country because they got caught often. So many of them or whatever, or people knew. And they were able, because of that, they were given land and stuff. Since they did what they were supposed to do, they were given land wherever they settled, right? And on that person's way out, they basically started, they would have these spells where they would start flopping like a fish, and flopping so much they would fall out the bed. And people be like, what in the world's going on with you? Why are you doing this? Right? Like, because it wouldn't just be, oh, you're sick or this. And it was like stuff that, like, you got something possessing you or something. Like, what's going on? And the person would say, I'm just fessing up. Like, wouldn't even bat an eye at it. Wasn't like shock, wasn't, he wouldn't be like, oh, I need help. No, he'd be like, this is the cost of doing business. I'm fessing up. He was saying, like, basically somehow, some way, I'm gonna have to deal with what I did. This is the way I'm dealing with it. I'm fessing up. So people don't comprehend this stuff. That's what I'm saying. You got to be careful who's teaching you're dealing with, or what stuff is attached to it, because you might be attached to somebody to where you want no parts of that. How you doing, Sister Margaret? Right. You said when you walk in faith, all this is shown to you as a child. It was very scary till you confront your fear. Mm. I'm just trying to tell you, like, and people that be out here, Sister Monica, people be out here trying to make us look like we're crazy. You got to be careful who you attach to. Sister Monica's already put it out here before, so I'm not saying anything that she hasn't put out to you. I'm not gonna put anything she's told me in private, but she already put it out here to y'all before, where there were people that when she was a little girl, because she wouldn't get baptized. And by the way, you're not supposed to get baptized unless you're ready to, but because she would get baptized at the church, they started telling her that she was gonna go to hell. So her family is surprised when she comes to something like this, because they're like, you were always the person that was anti stuff like this in biblical. And she said, well, somebody was able to tell me that I'm not crazy and it's okay for me to see some of the things I've seen and to learn and to grow and stuff like that, right? Which is why we need some of this family dynamic. Oh, thank you, Margaret. Thank you for being on, holding space with us, right? But we're not thinking about this stuff and how damaged we are and how we're carrying some stuff. There's people out there who are not worried about teaching. We just did a video the other day, right? About we did a live session and some of y'all came in the live session, thought Pastor Kofi finally lost it, but we did the live session about the apostle who was out here, because you thought I said it. I had to change the title of the YouTube video, but there was an apostle out there who was basically saying that he's more gifted than the Most High, and that Elohim knows it. Now he's made a response to everybody's rebuttal to his or response to his initial saying. He's made a rebuttal now to those responses. I'm not really interested in hearing much more about it. Maybe if the Holy Spirit tells me I have to watch it, I'll watch it. I did say something about it, so maybe I should watch the rebuttal. I don't know. But at the end of the day, people are following him, and there's people that are going to follow him just because he can dress it up so well, or just because he's made them feel great, or just because they were looking for Jesus and he gave them whatever they were looking for. Right. Like there are people that were following the pastor. Y'all remember, was this 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Time flies now. Y'all remember there was the guy who went in a coffin that was paid by the pastor to fake like he was dead, and then he rose him from the dead in Africa somewhere. I want to say it was it West Africa? Was it Nigeria? Was it Central Africa? Was it the Congo? I don't remember where. It happens a lot more times than you would think, not just only in Africa, all over the world. Right. And there's a lot of people, I haven't checked, but I told y'all when I say bet, what I mean, right? So I would bet anybody that he ain't lose too many people. No matter if we got the evidence, no matter if we know who the person was, no matter if that person was seen the day before, no matter if in the video that person was already breathing and tongue was moving, everything before like he rose him from the dead. There's people that are so attached to him that no matter what happens, they're not going to look to see if it's true. See, I praise y'all for a lot of you, because a lot of people think that we just out here trying, hey, how you doing, Minister Samay Lorette? A lot of people out here are just automatically thinking and believing that you guys just follow me blindly. And there are some that probably do. That's why even my teacher, I try to tell some of you, please open your Bibles up. But many of you, because I know you, I can say this, like people don't even look to get to know you guys and ask you guys personally. But I know you guys, and I know many of y'all ain't just rolling with nobody. Right? How you doing, Nancy? Many of you are they would call y'all the knuckleheads. You don't fit in, you stubborn, you don't listen, but you want truth, you want word. And so I know that a lot of you guys don't listen just to anybody. Right. And I appreciate that you do not, because it also causes me to have to always be in a better position, right? And make sure that I'm in a position that is even worthy of I'm using that as a play on where I know you're not knuckleheads, but this is how people look at me too. The people who are knuckleheads are the people who are ignorant, or the people who don't listen and all that stuff. But the kingdom of heaven belongs to you too, right? Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. All right. Even when they call us poor in spirit, the kingdom belongs to us. And thanks for being part of the community, Nancy. So I really appreciate you guys doing that. But there are a lot of people who are not studying. Maybe you're not surprised, but some of you would probably be surprised if you knew how much people do not study. How many people want to follow people and don't pray? How many people want to follow a pastor, male or female, and never once ask themselves, does this person even know how to explain the kingdom? How many preachers preach and have never gone to school to take any classes on how monarchy works? Right? How many preachers are ready to tell you about Genesis and don't even know what the word Barashat means, because it wasn't called Genesis, it was called Barashat. Genesis is because somebody's focusing on a particular family, which is great, but they don't tell you Barashat, which is basically going to tell you what everything you're about to read is about. Yeah, I was one of them too. And look, at some point, to some degree, all of us were. I don't care if you knew who you were or whatever, if you knew your tribe or you knew your kingdom or you knew your branch, you knew your family, you knew whatever. Like at some point, all of us are imperfect. And so all of us fall short. Read and research is what you do, and you still listen. Yeah, amen. And you should, right? Um, I say this a lot. Let me say it like this, right? I should be faithful to everything I say, not only because of my relationship with the Most High, but so that you will believe my words. I see you. Thank you for that. Matthew 11:29. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. Hmm. Right? Verse 30, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Right? Um, Amen. I should be I should be faithful to what I say, so you will believe my words. Staying closer to Yah as his day approaches, continually growing in his grace and knowledge. Amen. I'm going to say that one more again. You said you were also brought up under Jehovah's Witness congregation. Okay, yeah, I was too. Yeah, right. I'm going to say it one more again. I should be faithful to my words or faithful to my context, my contextual facts, or not mine, but contextual facts to the culture, to the kingdom, to what I say, so that you will believe my words. Many people believe words and never see anything and never even ask about culture. And I'm not saying everybody needs to bring their wife up in front of you, because guess what? Not everybody's wife is trying to be. Matter of fact, my wife is more behind the scenes. Y'all just see her because I can't, the way I live my life, I don't live my life without my wife. So as you see me, you see her. But I'm not saying that in that regard that if you don't see everybody's wife come up. But what I'm saying is that you guys who've been there in person or been with us virtually or been with us on the phone or been with us at these meetings, you know that SOC does not run without the Elder Meyer. Not only does it not, it cannot, the way we have it set up. I cannot. It cannot run without her. That's just the way it is. It's set up where it will not function without her. Right? Because she is my wife. As I go, she goes. As I improve, she improves. Right? I was going to do the meetup on Saturday. By the way, I know we might get less people this time because of it. One person we weren't actually able to catch in time, so they came. So I'm going to visit that person in person to make up. Everybody else, we got you in time so that you can come down there. But we're going to do the meetup this Saturday coming up. But the reason I didn't do the meetup, we were going to go. They weren't feeling well. I was still going to go by myself. And I got a call that they weren't doing too well. And I could have made a choice to still show up. But that would, you know what? That would have been the first meetup or anything for SOC that I would have done as far as a physical meetup that my wife would not have been at since 2019, maybe 2018. That was a big reason why I didn't do it. Right. And so even if somebody felt bad about not seeing me and I felt bad about not seeing y'all, even right at the end of the day, I live what I say. You know what I'm saying? If my wife's not doing well, I shouldn't be going to see y'all first. Because it wasn't just she was sick, it was that wasn't doing well. Y'all, if y'all know the difference, right? So we're okay now. And whatever it is seems like it's gonna be one of those quick things that kind of come in and hit you real hard, but they don't last that long. Plus, we know how to eat and everything to be able to heal those things, praise Yah. Right. But I'm just saying, right, like even in that, I could have made a choice to be like, hey, well, everybody sees me and I sold it and this and that, but I'm supposed to take care of my wife and make sure that whatever we need to happen between us is righteous. Right? No matter what. And thank you, Minister Samela Ray. Yeah. And it had me in a place where I was even off and I messed up a little bit on Sunday with the ministerial staff. Right, it snowballed into some stuff that wasn't just meeting y'all, but it was some other things that need to take place, including some things that I still need to email to them now, right? And then email to everybody else at SOC from the membership stuff. I haven't forgotten. I'm just letting y'all know. But it might snowball into some stuff, but guess what? They come first. right? And it came from, like I'm saying though, see this stuff, every preacher on here will tell you, when we preach, this stuff hits us first. I had to start separating myself. See, watch this. When I separated myself from this thing that everybody else goes to, where I'm trying to just go and just give me an opportunity, and my wife don't have to come, my children don't have to come, this and that. And I'm not saying nobody can do that. I'm saying this is how y'all moves with me, right? But so many people, they don't even think, does y'all want me to move without my family? Does y'all want me to do that? They just go and go and go, get the notoriety, this and that, or whatever. And their family life starts falling apart, and they never ask y'all before they move, like, should my family, like, actually, like, is my family straight? First Timothy chapter 3, if you desire the office of a pastor, you desire great work. First things first, though, be husband to one wife. Make sure that you rule your house well with all subjection. Do not be given to alcohol. It doesn't say you can't drink it at all, but don't be given to alcohol. Don't be to where you follow after it, that where you looking for that, right? There are certain things you should be sober minded. You should make sure that you have a great reputation because you represent the kingdom. But a lot of people don't even think about that. See, I had to separate myself. I separated myself enough years to be able to get to a place where it's like, man, I would feel uncomfortable going anywhere without him, without her, because I have not done anything without her since 2019. Right? Like, just the habits. You see what I'm saying? Forming the habits of it have helped to wipe the dust from my feet and do a mind wash, right? Like a brain wash, a mind wash, and get to a place where I don't even feel comfortable. Like, I was still gonna do it, but I was still like just not feeling comfortable when I found, right. But something in me was like, you ain't supposed to go. And I was probably gonna just not go anyways. But definitely when I had stopped, I had already stopped. And then when I was like, I was prepared and everything, I had the car done. I had already stopped though. I was on my way, I had stopped, and I was just chilling. And then sure enough, I get a call, and no, I'm not going. And thank you for the love, appreciate it. See, my mind was renewed. My mind, not my spirit. Pneuma is the mind. What does mind mean? Pneuma, pneumatical thought. It means the stoic thought that marries the soul, the spirit, and the body together. My mind is who I am holistically. The renewing of your mind is the renewing of your holy being, not a degree, but 360 degrees, not a step, but 15 steps. Psalm 120 through 134. Not a degree that's on your wall, but whole degrees of knowledge, of intimacy. Yeah, my spirit was even vexed. Yeah, like I was trying to push through in my flesh, right? Sometimes we don't give TD Jakes credit and we give him the blues and stuff for stuff that he's done. Let me give him some flowers. TD Jakes was getting ready to do a message over in Africa. Had already gone through, had met with people, had done a couple speeches here or there, was getting ready to do, I don't know if it was going to be multiple things. I don't know if it was going to be like a revival or something, but he's getting ready to speak. He gets a call on the phone. His son is in the hospital. His son says, "Daddy, I'm scared." They tell him what's going on with his son. His son says the words, "Daddy, I'm scared." He said, "Don't worry about it, son. Papa is on the way." Hangs up the phone, does not even apologize, has somebody get to them and tell them what's going on, says he's sorry that he won't be able to attend, and he's on the plane back. You know why? Because it was more important that his son would see him show up at the hospital than it is that he preached a sermon in that moment. I'm not saying there's never a time to where your son or your family might be in the hospital and you don't have to do what you got to do and press. I'm saying at that point, he did what he was supposed to do as a father. Right? We can oftentimes only talk about people's shortcomings. He did what he's supposed to do in that instance by far, right? Many people, right? And what I'm saying is, and I'm not trying to get on anybody, I'm trying to tell you what we need to work towards, okay? Please don't take this as me saying that if you do, or if you're in a position where you feel like you can't do it or you're trying to figure this out, the world has us trapped or feeling like we're trapped, right? They have us under siege to where we're starting to look at our brother and our wives and our children and each other as well, right? Deuteronomy 28, verse 54 on, right? The world has us in this place to where we believe that we can't live without prioritizing them, right? We have to prioritize our jobs instead of making sure that you got to prioritize your job. How else are you going to survive? Can you not forage? We got to prioritize our jobs. I mean, can you not forage? Right? Like I'm just saying, I'm just trying to tell you, like, well, foraging, well, that's how do you forage? Learn. But then even though that's food only, okay, can you start a business? Can you get with like-minded people? Can you can you make sure that your family becomes one? Can you start looking for people when it comes to your children who are going to get married? Can you start looking for other children that are growing up in the same thing and living with them and learning learning how these people are, so that your children grow up around like-minded people and you don't have to worry about your child ending up being a single parent like you had to, or worry about baby mama drama, baby daddy drama, all that stuff. Right? Like there's got to come a time to where we wipe the dust from our feet before we come into this place that we keep calling holiness. We are not whole. We are in pieces. We are in shambles, trying to live as if we are whole. Because the ultimate holiness we're going for, besides obviously being like Alacham, the ultimate holiness we should be going towards is nation building. How do I know that? You are a chosen generation. You are a royal priesthood. You are a peculiar people. You are also a holy nation. You're a whole one nation that's set aside. I want to say this in a different regard. I hope this goes for you the way it's going for me in my mind, that it makes sense with what I've been talking about. The theme is, which is in case of emergency, wipe the dust from your feet. I hope this goes with it for you well. But I want you to start, if you are a holy nation, right? If you are peculiar people, this is what I want you to do. I want you to start setting your, right? If we're supposed to set our nation apart, because wants to be set apart. So our nation has to be married to him. Yes, yes, we're also on YouTube. Yep, at the moment. All right. Um, so if hear what I'm saying, if we are a whole nation, and if you need the YouTube link, if you're since you're on TikTok, you can click on. Excuse me, we're regularly on podcast, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Um, If you want the actual YouTube information, look for hashtag Find Kofi on YouTube, or just click on the link tree on our main page. When you click on that link tree, click on hashtag Find Kofi. That's the YouTube channel. You can subscribe and follow, hopefully, and share and all that great stuff there. And hit the notification tab so when we come on, you can catch it there, and you can catch up with our playlist and series and all that stuff. Right? If we're supposed to set our nation aside, this is something I want you to do. Oh, nothing to apologize for. I don't even know what you're apologizing for. I'm sorry. Right. But I want us to, if we're going to set our nation aside, then that means you got to set your nation's problems aside. And I'm probably going somewhere slightly different to where you think when I say that. But if we're going to set our nation aside, because that's what you're talking about, you setting yourself apart, peculiar, you're a chosen generation, to be a royal priesthood, to be a holy nation separated, that you might be a peculiar people. If we're going to set that apart, hear me now, that means your problems must be set apart. If you will set your people to the side, set your problems to the side. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean just ignore your problems, although there might be some problems that right now, set them aside. I'm talking about, we got some beefs. There's not all of what I'm talking about, but I also want to say, hey, we got some beefs. Some of those things, as far as who's wearing what color, what fringes, whose hair looks best, yada yada yada. Some of that stuff needs to be put to the side. Whose dialect is the best? You might want to start setting some of that to the side, right? But then also, something else, right? It's literally our problems are not everybody else's. So stop looking for everybody else to try and make sure that they do that. Wipe the dust from your feet. Why is it that you think that others are going to help you to solve what's yours? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? Whether you are Israel by blood or graft in, whatever, people are not looking at this like we look at this. I'm not sure who this is. If this Katarina, if you're somebody who's actually listening right now and you want to come on the live session, I'd have to learn more about what you're trying to come on for. Right. And by the way, today we only have a few more minutes left. I'm not going to go too much longer. We're getting ready to take our leave. And if you've never done a shout out with us on TikTok before, we'll have some information popped up here for you soon where you can actually be able to, if you have certain questions, comments, concerns, or if you want to get in contact with us, if you want to learn more about what we do, it'll pop up on your screen soon on TikTok, and we'll do something called a shout out if you've never done it with us. But as we get in it, and but even as we get ready to do that, if you'd like, I'm led by the Spirit right now. If you would like to, if you're able to, I know everybody's not able to. I'm looking to see right now who's even on that's able to. So not everybody's able to, but those who would like, if you would like, even on TikTok, to even, I don't know if you call it call in or request in, and you want to either ask a question. Actually, we just say for today, if you'd like to ask a question about something we talked about today, feel free to. But if you just want to put the rest in the chat. But and thank you, Sister Nadine, for all that you do. I wish we could do it on all the platforms. I think on Facebook we probably can share it to where somebody can come on. If somebody wants to come on, just tell me in the chat. On YouTube, I don't think we can do it. We might have to at some point start having a phone where you guys can call in. So if you're on YouTube, you guys can just call into a number. We'll probably connect it to one of the ones that are on the screen. If you want to call in during the live session, you can dial in or whatever at some point. I've been thinking about that for a while. It just cost. Right now we're penny pinching real bad. But long story short, however it is, I want you to comprehend that it's time for us to start setting aside some of our problems. Our problems do not look like everybody else's problems. Right? Marriage being what the Bible says is not everybody's problem, because not everybody's trying to be married like the Bible says. Right? I mean, it's just common sense stuff, right? Sex being marriage and marriage being sex. That's our culture. A lot of people are trying to abide by that. Matter of fact, a bunch of brothers are trying to have as many sexual partners or even as many wives as possible. They're trying to get some of our sisters to fall for that. Like trying to get you to be and telling you that it doesn't matter. I don't know why you're trying to put stuff on to make yourself look great. And got some of our sisters thinking, am I being selfish? Because I want to just be the only wife. I mean, this is stuff that's being brought to me by y'all. I'm not lying. Some of you who these guys wanted to be husbands to you, and come to find out that these people, they just, and look, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Some people don't like me because I tell the truth about this stuff and I call this out, right? A lot of brothers are trying to date y'all, and the first time they try to date y'all is through Bible study. Looking for sisters that feel like they out there by themselves. Let's have a Bible study. Bible study turning to, can I come through? Well, I'm gonna be traveling through here on this date. Maybe we can see each other. Right? At some point, like, I'm gonna just be honest. And sisters, y'all do it too. Y'all just do it in a different way. Right? I'm so surprised at the knowledge that you have. Where did you get that from, brother? Right? Nevertheless, right? You said, and it could only be them with extra wives, never the women. Right, right, right. Nevertheless, if a man or a woman is not trying to set you apart, they're not worthy of you. And I don't think people comprehend that. Holiness, consecration, sanctification, all these things people talk about, really in some way, shape, or form deal with you being set aside, set apart. If you're no different than 6 other women in the harem, let's just call it what it really is. If there's no difference between you and them, Are you set apart? How can he love you as Yah loves you and he never sets you apart? How can she love you as Yah loves you and she never sets you apart? I don't need no man. You ain't different than nobody else. I chose you. Okay, well then I don't want that love because I'm holy. I'm set apart. If I'm the same as every other man, then I'm set apart. Like if you can't handle me being set apart, then we need not be. You hear what I'm saying? How you doing, Verdell? Thanks for being part of the community. If you just gonna treat me the same as every other guy, then I need something different because I'm not the same as anybody on the planet. There's not one being that's ever existed that has my fingerprint. If you're not willing to love the fingerprint, then you might as well go ahead and go with somebody else because my blueprint got a different fingerprint than any other blueprint. Holy Spirit, she just gave a bar right there. Right? Right? Like my fingerprints are different than anybody's ever existed. And so the blueprint for these fingerprints are different. If you can't follow this blueprint or support this blueprint, then that's okay. We need not be together. How you doing, Sister Sierra? We need not be together. Right? I can't tell you how many people I hear stuff say, man, everybody on the planet I've ever been in a relationship with, or this and that, or whatever, they all get me, they all comprehend me, but my spouse doesn't. Everybody on the planet gets you to a certain level. Your spouse is trying to break ground that nobody else broke. Amen. Thank you, Sister Monica. Did you hear what I just said? Everybody might be able to get you on that level except your spouse because your spouse is not like everybody else. Y'all's not trying to make sure. See, this is why some of your businesses fail. You only hire people that are like you. And then you have a problem. And when you have a problem with your business because everybody thinks exactly like you, your business fails. You need some people in your business that are saying, look, Sister Marion, I know you run this and this and this or whatever, but I promise you, I see it from this angle. You might want to do this and this and this. Okay, all right. Thank you. I can do that with my big sis because my big sis she can listen to people from different places, right? She'll keep it real with you, but she'll listen to you though. Praise y'all. And she says some stuff to me from time to time, and I be sitting there like, I never thought about that. Maybe we should do blah blah. Blah. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you know what? I can't do this. I can't come visit. She's like, you should have been done this and this and this, and we could have gone ahead and taken care of this a long time ago. I'm like, dang, you know what? You're right. Like sometimes I can't say anything. You're right. Yeah, equally yoked. We're supposed to be yoked to something. Once again, for those of you who don't know, who's never seen it, go somewhere in your culture where people actually yoke oxen together. That's what it's talking about in being equally yoked. How you doing, White State? That's what it's talking about with being equally yoked. Or is it with the state? I'm not sure. Or I guess it's whatever it takes. Estate. Is that right? Is that it? I don't know. Right. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. But see, what was I saying? Wax the equally yoked. If you ever get a chance to go to your culture and see oxen that are equally yoked. If you see oxen that are equally yoked, this is how oxen work. You ready for this? You take two oxen, one oxen is older, but not as strong as it used to be. One oxen is younger and has more strength and energy. You put the two oxen together on the same yoke. The yoke is not designed to never be taken off. It's designed for when it's time to put in the work. The older oxen knows the commands, but might not always have the strength and ability. The younger oxen knows no commands, but has the strength and the ability. Both of them have two different things that they bring together. And because of that, they're equally yoked. So one is learning the commands in areas that they're weak in. Well, right? One might try to go off on brute strength by itself, but the other one is just strong enough to stop it from going somewhere that would delay the work and be disobedient to the call of the master. Right? But they're equally yoked. The yoke is what keeps them together so that they can learn from one another and get what's done. When they're finished, they actually take the yoke off and they go and they relax. The yoke, see, we think yoke is talking about the marriage. The yoke is when it comes time for us to do the work. Equally yoked is, hey, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Sister Shima. My strengths might be your weaknesses. Your strengths might be my weaknesses. But we're yoked together. It's time for us to put in that work. Let's go ahead and do what we got to do. And once we finish putting in that work, okay, that was great. Now not we, because they don't have arms, right? They don't have hands. So the master, when it's time for them to take a break from the work, he will take the yoke off. And he will lead them to the green pastures. And he will allow them to rest. And he will give them a reward for their work. And they begin to love being yoked together. They start to love seeing that yoke come out. Because when they see that yoke come out, that means that, oh, we're about to do some work, but we know at the end of this, there's a reward that's worth the work. How you doing, Brother Cole? Right? Where you weak, where I'm weak, you are strong, right? That's Romans 15:1. Even those of us that are strong, let us take on the infirmities of the weak. See, I've been rewarded for taking care of others so much in my life that I can't wait to use my strength to take care of others. And here's something else. I've seen people rewarded for taking care of my weaknesses. So I don't mind my weaknesses showing up because I know somebody will get rewarded. Even if I don't like how I'm taking somebody's time now, I know Yah's going to bless them with something more valuable than the time that they gave. Right. And then this is what I really have gotten into now at a level to where I love being yoked to like-minded people, right? Because here's another thing about yoke. You can't yoke an oxen and a sheep to the same thing at the same time. You know why? Or you can't yoke an oxen to a human being, right? You can't put on a ox's yoke. You know why? Because the yoke is made for the specific beast or the specific animal. How you doing, Brother Ali? And so since the yoke is made for the specific animal, if you try to put on the ox's yoke on you, ox has skin that's not as sensitive as yours. So the ox's yoke can actually tear you up. So you can't just yoke anything with anything. Right? Not only are you yoking up you, so when you say we're equally yoked and you're talking about the same, fine, you got to be the same species, so to speak. You got to have the same belief system, you have to have the same culture, but it doesn't mean that you have the same strengths and weaknesses. So one thing I've learned is that when I get yoked, I love to be yoked with somebody on the same journey, the same path, with the same belief system, right? And has the same, can handle the same yoke. Not everybody can handle your yoke. Not everybody's designed. Not everything is designed to handle what you're trying to handle. Once again, wipe the dust from your feet. You were so mad that somebody didn't walk this thing with you. Be thankful that that person isn't with you if they couldn't handle where you were going. They couldn't handle your calling. They couldn't handle your gifting. They couldn't handle what you were doing. They couldn't handle your love. They couldn't handle your forgiveness. You've forgiven people, but they were so ashamed of what they did, they couldn't forgive themselves. Hey, if they couldn't forgive themselves, but you forgave them, wipe the dust from your feet. Wiping the dust from your feet doesn't mean that you've declared them to be evil. It just means that you're not taking that stuff with you. Leave it where it is. Leave it where it is. There's some people that, yes, they could have, and yeah, sometimes you look back and you might be a little sad that that person not with you. I have that feeling quite a bit, but an overall feeling of warmth and joy and happiness comes upon my life and comes upon my mindset because I realized that person would have taken me down. We could have been together. I'm not just talking about marriage. We could have started the business. We could have been in the music group. We could have preached together. We could have built something together. But I look at their life now and I say, you know what? Yeah, we wouldn't have. Matter of fact, can I be honest with you? Some people that I'm not yoked with, it's not just because they turned out to be bad. That's just I realized we were going two different places. Some people they wanted to make sure that they had a church service and where the word of Yah was just 20 minutes and they had about an hour and a half of praise and worship. And everybody came in their best Sunday dress every Sunday, and that was what it was supposed to be. And while that might not be something that's acceptable for me, I guess that worked for them. They're doing what they need to do. Their family's doing all right. They seem to be doing okay and growing. All right, cool. But that's not for me. How you doing, Brother Bertram? And Sister Jessica, if you're watching as well. Yeah, sometimes you can't go with something. It doesn't mean, right? I praise y'all for each and every one of you on here because we're going somewhere together. And if somebody says, "Hey, I'm not going there with you. I'm not led to go there with you," no hard feelings. Even if I feel like you're leaving for a wrong reason, at the end of the day, no hard feelings. We all have free will. And if I'm any kind of spiritual father, anyways, I'm like the prodigal father. I'll be waiting. You right or left? I'm waiting still. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna call you WIT. I appreciate you, WIT. I'll be waiting for you. There's a lot of people that for whatever, sometimes they don't even tell you why. Sometimes they fall off. Sometimes I know what their situations is and they still won't tell me. Sometimes they're embarrassed by stuff. Sometimes they mad at me because I didn't just do something that they thought I was supposed to do or whatever. That's okay. It's all right. Yeah, I'm not going nowhere. I'm right here. I'm still praying. I'm still asking people to put you on the prayer list. I'm still having conversations about you even when you're not here. I still know, when you're visiting people, or calling people or doing whatever, I'm still right here. Man, love and respect for you. Because that's what a real father does. That's what a real mother does. That's what a real human being does. That's what a real brother or sister does. How you doing, Dwayne? How you doing, Kissa? Kissa? Is it Kissa Davis? Kissa Davis? Kissa Davis? Please forgive me. All right, thanks for being part of the community. You hear what I'm saying? Like, so we walk this walk together. We come together. We forgive, right? But just be ready to wipe the dust from your feet. And as I was saying, and we'll take our leave after this and do our shout out. Remember, like I was talking about with being equally yoked, I've learned that therefore, right, not everybody's supposed to be together. But look, I'm glad because if you're yoked to me, please realize that there's going to be some times. Please help me. I'll come to you in a second. Kiss, please forgive me. Please realize that if you're yoked to me, you are going to see a lot of things that I'm weak in, and that means that I need your help. Let me just make that clear. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. Well, I won't say any way, shape, or form. I have things that I am being perfected in, things that I've gotten close to perfection in, but I still have weaknesses, and it'll be an eternal journey for me to continue to perfect myself. Right? So, but I want you to know that even if you look at me and say he's great, remember we talked about that earlier. Kobe Bryant, he was diligent when it came to being great at basketball, but not so diligent at making sure he was taking care of his family. Doesn't mean that he couldn't have became better, but it means that obviously he didn't SA the girl, that was proven, but he still had some stuff up, right? So I have some things that are not 100% there. I'm going to run out of energy sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to say this is what I'd like to happen by this deadline, and it might not happen. Sometimes I'm going to say this like happened last Saturday. We're going to meet up all together, and we got to reschedule it for this Saturday coming up in Georgia, right? And it's going to be in the same place, by the way, just to let you guys know. Right. I might say, hey, when I come through Carolinas, we're going to come through. And now that's going to be delayed because I got to make sure that at least we do our meetup in Georgia. I've been talking about doing this with the land. We finally got something where we're this close to it. We're going to go visit it today. Keep us in prayer. Right. There's a lot of stuff that, and whether it's my fault or not, whether it's your fault or not, we all have issues. Right. I try to be as open as I should be. You should not be open about everything, right? But I try to be as open as I should be because I want you guys to see that just because somebody can speak on something doesn't mean that they don't have problems. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you. Right. So, but I want you to see that like we are all working together We all are puzzle pieces. We're all shaped different as puzzle pieces. We all have things that we need to make sure that we bring to the table. We all have gifts that need to be worked on. That means that all of us, so we're all yoked. When we come together and it's time to make a move on something, we're all yoked. Kofi is not more important than Maya. Maya is not more important than Kofi. Kofi and Maya are not more important than Solomon. Solomon is not more important than Anaya. Anaya is not more important than Nadine. Nadine is not more important than Tamara. Tamara is not more important than Kevin. Kevin is not more important than Tamar. Tamar is not more important than Samaya LaRae. Samaya LaRae is not more important than Dwayne. Dwayne is not more important than Henry, etc. Right? Prophetess Carolyn is not more important than Valerie. Right? How you doing, Prophetess? That's somebody who got me into even speaking more and doing books and stuff like that. So whenever I see her come on, I'm grateful. Right? These are things that are, all of us are necessary, not just necessary to see. I need you to catch this. Not just necessary to do things together, but necessary to exhort or to lift up. The things in me that cause me to go down, I need you to be there to help me to lift up. The things in you that cause you to go down, you need me to be there to help you to lift up. And not just pastor to, if I don't want to, pastor to flock, I guess you would say, but to each other. You know, sheep encourage each other, whether the shepherd is standing right next to him or not. The lamb doesn't get mistreated by the sheep because the shepherd's gone. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, love on each other. Some of you have each other's numbers. When we do the shout out, we do it for a reason. Get with like-minded people, even if it's just phone calls for right now, even if it's just DMs for right now. Please keep the DMs respectful. But even if it's DMs or phone calls right now, even if it's coming on some of the Zoom meetings that we have, can't do one this Saturday because we got to do the meetup in Georgia again. So let's shoot for maybe July 15th. Yeah, July 15th be the Zoom meeting, the next Zoom meeting for SOC for everybody. Right? But whatever it is, you know, let's reach out to each other. And it blesses my soul when I hear you guys on these meetings and stuff, and you guys come out. Yeah, thank you so much, Sister So-and-so, for doing this. Thank you so much, Brother So-and-so. Hey, I wanted to tell everybody, part of SOC family, you guys really helped my family when you guys helped us to raise money and to do this and to do that or whatever. You know, you guys helped my son who was dealing with this. You helped my daughter. You helped my husband. You helped my wife. Right? When I see the brothers, I'm not on the sister stream, but, you know, when I see the brothers and I see the group text that pops up, and, you know, I'm finding out through them, because I can't keep up with everything. I'm finding out through them, reading the text, like, oh, so-and-so had a family member that this happened, or somebody got shot, or somebody got heart attack, or somebody this, and the brothers are already on it. Somebody's looking for a job, and the brothers are already on it. You know, like those are the things that really bless us, right? And so that's helping us to do what? To wipe the dust from our feet. Everybody else in the social media thing, how you doing, Sister Tamal? And even some of us in this community that's supposed to be the Israelite community, a lot of us are not out here to actually become community and to do it righteously. May I say it again? A lot of us are not out here to become community and to do so righteously. And guess what? Once again, it's not on them if they're not trying to do it righteously. It's on us. So I appreciate you. Thank you. At this point, oh, I'm sorry. Somebody did have a question, and then I really got to take my leave. Where was the question at? It was something about why do you always have anxiety or something? Or why are you a people pleaser? If you're still on, please forgive me. Right. So this will be the last question, and then I got to take my leave. Like I said, we got to go visit the land and stuff. So I'm gonna make sure we're straight over here so we can be ready for our trip. Why am I always a people pleaser? Now, I don't know what your exact situation is, so I have to be somewhat broad in this. Prayerfully, some of the things that I'll say will help, because, and if you want to go further, we do life coaching, things like that. Oh, okay. Amen. We're praying for you, Sister Tama. All right. Or Minister Tama, excuse me. So when somebody says, and this will be, like I said, the last thing for today, and then I got to get ready, take my leave, and get on the road. Why am I such a people pleaser? A lot of that times that comes once again from, so it can come from a few different things. Number one, it comes from you having a great heart. Oh, okay. The child was okay. We'll definitely keep that in prayer. The child was okay. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. If we can do anything, I guess let us know, or if we can be support to you in that regard, I guess let us know. Um, So yeah, amen. We'll keep that in prayer. I'm not saying it verbally what happened because I have to be careful how I say it, and or else we could get taken down. It's crazy how social media works sometimes. Um, but yeah, we'll keep it in prayer. Maybe even see if they're comfortable with it. Maybe getting some names and um, putting them on prayer list. Maybe being able to send something to the family. I don't know. So just kind of keep us in the loop. Maybe if you feel led to go somewhere with that route, we can see what we can do as a group to be a blessing in some way, shape, or form. Especially if you're saying you're going to visit them, who knows? There's a few of us in the area. Maybe we can do something, just be supportive. I don't know, but so so there's a so when you say I'm trying to help, or why am I always a people pleaser? I am somebody who was a people pleaser, and if I'm not careful, I fall right back into that. And But yeah, it can be really easy to be a people pleaser when you are in your mind. First of all, let me start where I started off. Yeah, thank you, Holy Spirit, for getting me back on track. Your When you have a great heart, when you have a great passion for people, when you have a passion for Yah's people, and when you have a passion for humanity, you're you're not necessarily wrong for that. What happens is a lot of people have not been taught how to use great hearts. How you doing, T. Rasta? Right. A lot of people have not been taught how to use great hearts. Sounds weird, but people with great hearts need more boundaries than anybody else, because you will keep giving to people that will keep using you and using you, especially if they are family. Yeah, they will. Yeah, so especially if they are family or friends or people you grew up with, or people who you were in the street with them before, this and that or whatever. You came out the mud and y'all came out the mud together, or you came out the mud, but you trying to drag them out the mud. Boundaries is one of the greatest gifts that Yah has given us. That's why we talk about law all the time. Law doesn't give rights. Law protects rights, right? And boundaries can be one of the best things to protect you whatsoever. Like there are people at SOC that have a lot of money and have told me, that I could at any point just be like, hey, give me this, give me this. Oh, thank you. Babe, it's 11:11. All right. There are a lot of people who thank you. There are a lot of people who would take your heart, and because they know your passion is for people, they know you don't have boundaries. And when you don't have boundaries, um, it will when you don't have boundaries, people will walk all over you because there's nothing that says you must stop here. So I was talking about this earlier with somebody else. They were saying, well, with my oldest child, or not my oldest, but like they were saying, I have a son and he's this age and he's not doing this and that or whatever. How'd I get? And I was telling them first things first, especially for when they're older. Uh, Really, you got to start putting boundaries. Yeah, because people will take advantage of you. And I've had people here at SOC, and they'll be like, "Oh, I got this, I got that," and just ask and just ask. And I know I could, and they've shown me. And sometimes they get on me because they're like, "You haven't asked at all," right? And I might overcorrect and not ask for their help with things, or even sometimes they're willing to help my family with stuff because I'm a Levite, so I'm not supposed to have a job. I'm not supposed to work in the field. So my family is works off a donation. SOC lives off a donation, you know, so to speak. But I'm very quick to tell them that, hey, I want you to comprehend that just because you wanted to do this, I'm not going to be asking you all the time, and I'm not going to be every time somebody needs something coming to you over and over and over and over again, right? Like I made it a point to tell people that, like, we're not going to abuse you. If you want to do something that you feel led, if you want to do that, thank you so much, right? But I just want you to know, we're not going to be the ones that's going to be like making your pockets empty. Put it like that, right? You said, yeah, you said the ones that are willing to give are the ones who don't like to ask. Yeah, right. And so what happens is so going back to that, I'm just trying to show you like the a lot of people get taken advantage of because we don't have boundaries and we don't say, you know, like for example, um, hey, um, or okay, I'll keep it to myself. I was about to put something out there. Maybe you'd be able to find out who I'm talking about. Hey, Kofi, can you come and play music for us? No problem. Can you play again? No problem. Can you play again? No problem. Now, at this point, homeless, right? Um, homeless. I'm legit. No, and I'm not trying to throw any shade. I'm just telling you how people don't think about it, right? And maybe because I didn't tell them how bad off I was. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you don't have any money. But homeless, right? And really don't have any income coming in. I'm jumping over the barriers, you know, to be able to jump into the metro station. If you ever seen that, you know, like I'm jumping over the barriers and stuff and running to try and get onto the train. Um, you know, timing it, looking at what time the train is coming, timing it, jumping, running down because I know I got 2 minutes, and then hoping that the doors will close before any security can get to me, and hoping security doesn't hit me. But I'm doing that to get to a service, right? I'm giving up, and then I'm trying to hit scripture to make it feel okay. You know, render these things to Caesar, but all it would have taken is one time somebody catching up with me, they could arrest me, right? Or say that you can't come on the metro anymore. I don't have no car, right? And I'm just saying things like that, but I'm not thinking to myself, there needs to be a boundary of, and this is just little, right? But I'm trying to do something righteous. It's for Elohim. People tell you all the time you shouldn't get paid for anything. They make you feel bad for getting paid for anything, right? So what? There's a simple boundary. I could have easily said, "Hey, no offense to you guys, I don't need to get paid, but if somebody can't give me a ride, or if somebody can't," and I started doing that, but something that small because I felt bad asking for anything, but I didn't have any boundaries, right? And people would use you as much as you. So it at least came down to, hey, if somebody can't give me a ride, um, you know, or somebody can't make sure that when I get there, I can have money to get on the train, I can't really do it, right? Like, and I'm talking about I might do 3-4 services a Sunday, and I knew that I was going to come out of that Sunday with nothing in my pocket. Trying to figure out how I was going to make it all over Maryland, DC, and Virginia, sometimes even places that the metro doesn't reach. I did the same thing for a tiny bit in Chicago, you know? So I'm just saying you have to get to a place where it's like there has to be some kind of boundary. Now, that's I kind of using something for a broad way, but people will do that with you too, as far as like, yeah, I mean, and it's not, and it could be kindness for weakness sometimes too, though. You show weakness sometimes by thinking that or because we think that it's weak to ask for help, or we think that it's weak to say that there's certain things. Or watch this. Sometimes we think that it's weak to love ourselves. I cannot tell you how many single mothers I talk to, and I have to ask the question like, when's the last time you went shopping or got your nails done or got your hair did? And they're like, I don't even know. You know, but I don't have time, or, you know, this person, or I got this child, and, you know, the child got to be babysat, blah, blah. I'm like, well, why aren't they babysat? Well, I mean, you know, I really don't have that many people in my family who would do this and that, and blah, blah. I was like, well, we need to figure out how to get you a friend or something, like a true friend. Or we need to get this SOC thing developing, and you need to talk with some people. Mm. Yeah, I had a conversation first day. Yeah, selfish versus self-centered. Yeah, you need to be selfish. Thank you, babe. You need to be selfish sometimes. Self-centered is a different thing, where you think that you are the center of the universe, so to speak. But selfish, like we said earlier, babies need to be selfish. Babies are not the lovers that we make them out to be in the beginning. Babies are selfish because they cannot take care of themselves, right? But you might need to be selfish for you. You might need to straight up be selfish sometimes. It's okay. Right? Like I said, I talk to single mothers and stuff, and I'm sitting there talking to them, and you can tell you're like, when's the last time? Not even by the way you look. I'm just talking about listening to you. I can listen to a phone conversation, never have seen you before, and be like, when's the last time you went to the mall? When's the last time you got a massage? When's the last time you got a pedicure? When's the last time you went to, well, I can't get anybody to babysit. Okay, you might need to get that child in order now. You might need to get them one of those carts where they get tied down in, or go to the mall and spend $5 extra and have them in a little cart that drives, that has a little iPad on it or something. But you might need to go ahead and enjoy you. When's the last time that you ate like you eat? Everybody else is eating all their favorite meals. You got the whole meal prep in your head for everybody else and don't even have a meal prep for yourself. What's your favorite melon? Do you remember? What's your favorite fruit? What's your favorite tea? When's the last time you even went outside to try? Some of you taking herbalism and stuff with the Honorable Maya. When's the last time that you went outside and just said, I'm gonna just go forage by myself? Yeah, you're the come-to person. Everybody comes to you. Yeah. And when's the last time? Watch this. Who's your person that you get advice from, or you get to listen to, or who's your spiritual mother or spiritual father, or whomever? Right? Go. When do you get to go to them? Right? If you everybody's mama, TD Jakes, going back to him, oftentimes we can say some negative things about him. Let's say another positive thing about him today, right? TD Jakes, one thing that he said that was really powerful to me a long time ago, he said that he said some of the worst people to listen to are preachers. And he said the reason is not because of how they live bad or this and that. He was on a leadership conference. He said, just because he said people think that just because there's food on the table, it means that the chef is ate. Right? He said he said, look, if you in the kitchen, he said if you always cooking meals for everybody else, doesn't mean you eating. He said that doesn't mean you eating. He said you cooking, you're not eating, baby. And when he said it, I said that's really powerful to hear, because I need to hear that sometimes I'm so busy cooking for everybody else that I don't take time to eat for myself. So I don't mind, as soon as I finish this with you guys, I'm gonna eat, some spiritual food for myself. Sometimes I don't even have to make time out to even listen to my own stuff. It's partially, to be honest with you, because I don't sometimes like listening to myself, but I had to get past that, right? Critiquing every word that I ever said and just listening to a message, right? But sometimes I'll give everybody else a message and then I don't even go back and listen to my own message. I got to go back and listen to my own stuff. I've got to go back and take notes too. Sometimes I go back and I go, ooh, I'm glad I did listen to that. I need to correct that, right? But I'm just saying, you're so busy cooking for everybody else, and the apron looks great, right? The kitchen looks clean at the end, and everybody's so excited to see what's been presented on the table. But you so busy cooking, you haven't been eating anything. So what I would say, and I know that's very broad, we'll have some more information up if you want to text or email, whether it's myself or even one of the sisters at SOC or whomever, or even one of the other brothers, if it be somebody in your area or something that you want to talk further with. But we'll have that information up in a little bit. That being said, though, like I said, we got to go, and prayerfully everything gets to some great conversation that'll lead to us having some great news for you guys later this week concerning the land. But we got to get ready to be in position to make that happen. So thank you guys for being on again. If you're with us on TikTok, we're going to get ready to do our shout out. If you've never done the shout out with us, just go ahead and stick around with us. We believe that you'll probably enjoy it. But thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you, whether you joined us on the podcast, whether you joined us on Facebook or on YouTube or even on TikTok. We appreciate you so very much. And we thank you again for being with us today. As a reminder, those who are in Georgia, we're going to try to meet at the same location we gave you last time, but it'll be this Saturday. This time, let's say at 3, just to be safe. All right. 2 might have been pushing it anyway, so 3 just to be safe. We will, no matter what, we shall be there this Saturday, 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. Thank you guys so much. We had a ministerial staff meeting this Thursday. Don't forget, we're getting closer to September 29th through October the 6th for the Feast of Tabernacles. we're looking. We should be having some information for you guys coming out soon with for the 7Fs ministerial staff. You should be getting it soon, and then everybody else. And then after that, we should be getting some stuff for our this month's newsletter and everything. So we thank you guys. We appreciate you. Continue to push forward, push ahead. Same dates we've been talking about. We're going to be in Houston, we'll be in Houston, Dallas, and around those areas somewhere between the 11th to the 18th. We might even try to go to some other places in Texas earlier in that week, and then make sure we're in place in Houston for a little bit because we got a wedding there. We might try to do Dallas right after that. So if you want to kind of save those dates, if you're in that area. Didn't hear anything else about. We were invited to come somewhere, I think to Mississippi somewhere, and we didn't get the invite back yet, or we didn't get anybody to give us the official invite. So we're waiting on that, but that might happen. I don't know when. For those in Florida, if Florida is going to happen, we're going to try to make it happen soon because we want it to be outside of the storm season. So I don't know when to tell you that will happen. If it will happen, still trying to save up for it. To be honest, that's the main thing, kind of keeping it where it is. Those of you who are in the Carolinas, we're looking at hopefully in maybe next weekend, either next weekend or the weekend after, trying to see you guys up on the way back up to the DMV, and those that also means those in like the 7 cities or like Norfolk area, Richmond area. I know Norfolk and Richmond aren't exactly the same place, but Norfolk, what are the 7 cities? Richmond, Newport News, not Richmond, Newport News, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, places like that, Portsmouth, or Portsmouth, all that area. We might be able to see you guys the same weekend that we see everybody in the Carolinas. Those that are in the D, in Chi-Town, stuff like that, I don't know when. Once again, it's just a lot of stuff as far as scheduling and as far as trying to do stuff. Oh, also too, a reminder, the next set of classes, the third, I've been saying semester, I apologize, y'all. The third quarter, right? So this is the second semester coming up. So we're taking a nice little break between first semester, second semester. When we get to the third quarter of classes for this year is going to start on the last Monday of August, which I believe is August the 28th. So if you want to go ahead and have that stuff together, let us know. Oh, you said you come to, well, either way. So if we do the DMV and come back up there again, depending on where we meet up, you might be able to meet up with us at the DMV, or if you want to come down to V8, let us know. I just don't know when the DMV meeting will be. So if you just want to meet us sooner than later to make sure that we actually see each other sometime soon, just remind us when we start saying we're going to come. But I would say, I'm not 100% sure. I would say we're looking at not this weekend coming up. So it will be either July 15th and 16th for the Carolinas and VA, or it'll be July 22nd and 23rd. One of those two. So if you want to save those 2 weekends and kind of give us, we'll make sure that we tell you the week coming up or during the week coming up, but it'll be somewhat last minute. So if you want to kind of start putting those things together, and but we appreciate you, we honor you, and we're going to look forward to talking to you guys soon. So we're looking at Cali as well. We're talking to people over in Cali who are going to help us out with even getting over there. Last year we just did we traveled by vehicle across country and back. So we're probably not going to be able to do that this year, but somebody's trying to help us out with flight. So, and even a place to stay. So if we're able to make that work out, praise God for the person who's doing so. If we're able to make that work out, then we'll make sure everybody knows when we're on our way. It'll be over near the San Francisco area. I think we were in San Juan, I think, last time. But it basically San Francisco, that area. But yeah, so we'll be there, and we'll try to set up something where we can be there for a little bit. Last year we were there for quite a few days. I think we ended up being there almost like, a week and a half? I feel like it was at least a week. San Rafael, thank you. That's what it was. San Rafael, not San Juan. San Rafael. So right next to San Francisco. But yeah, so we're looking at it. But we'll see. But just keep us in prayer. Trying to make sure everything's done decent in order. Trying to put the finishing touches now on the also too on the meetup in September for the Feast of Tabernacles, and then prayerfully be able to start focusing in, even if we don't have everything up on the land, at least start focusing on putting things together like fencing and getting it ready for next year so we can start growing food and maybe having some people that, can even come through and start putting some stuff up on the land and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. So, and thank you guys for a lot of places we go. You guys treat us like royalty. We really appreciate it, but especially San Francisco last year, that was really a treat for us, with the people that came out and blessed us and stuff. And even you guys made Solomon feel like, but really, family, y'all go above and beyond. It's almost embarrassing sometimes for us, the levels that you guys love us on, but we're starting to learn that we should be embarrassed by that. That's how we treat one another and love each other. So we thank you. How you doing, Brother Keith? So once again, thank you guys for being on. I'll see you guys tonight. Might even see you guys from where the land is. Depends on how long we end up over there. So y'all might even see me coming from where the land hopefully will be from. Everything's got to work out right, and we're going to write up a contract, even if it does work out right, to make sure that we protect ourselves and them. So which means we're going to have to be on our grind. All right. I don't believe in finessing anybody, but prayerfully everything works out to where we can have everything done, and or at least have some great conversation, and we can have something to be able to present to YLP 83, and then little pictures in here to everybody else and stuff like that. And then those who are kind of in the inner circle with YLP 83, we can start putting everybody kind of back to work, because right now we just kind of been paused for a little bit, just being like, we got to get something to take the next step. So prayerfully that works out very well tonight. So keep us in prayer. That should be about 4 p.m. Eastern New York time. So keep us in prayer around that time if you can, or maybe before then if you can't. Set aside time at that time. Yeah, thank you again. We appreciate you. Hopefully this word was a blessing to you. We'll see you later this evening. Patreon family, we got what we talked about. Some stuff that we couldn't talk about in front of everybody. We had that, and even this early rising session from this rising, we had that on there for you guys today, already up and posted. So hopefully you guys get a chance to watch that. I'll try to have some other stuff to finish up some of the stuff we were talking about from Saturday. Try to have that posted as well. Please keep the family and Minister Tama in prayer. Please keep Sister Toya in prayer. Still keep Minister Moselle in prayer. Still keep Minister Shantae in prayer still. Situation with some of the stuff going for the new chair and new facilities for Minister Anais. Keep that in prayer as well. And keep our family in prayer, if you don't mind as well. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. If you're on TikTok, we're going to get ready to do our shout out. If you haven't done the shout out before, we'll tell you how that works in a second. To everybody else, thank you for being on. Tomorrow, if you keep up with not just the Gregorian or Julian calendar, but if you keep up with the Israelite calendar, tomorrow, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern New York time, is Shabbat for us. So if I don't see you for some reason before then, early Shabbat Shalom to you all. But thank you for being on again. We really appreciate you. We honor the King and Queen, each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside the kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential King and Queen in each and every one of you. Please check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Oh, amen. I'm sorry, Brother Alton, I miss you. Before the airplane takes off, they always announce, in case of emergency, put on your oxygen mask first. Praise God. Hallelujah. Right? But we thank you all for being on. We appreciate you. And we look forward to talking to you all again very soon. And take care. As always, has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, Yahshua, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Thank you for the love. Shalom, family. Peace. If you are still with us on TikTok, this is how the shout out works. In case you've never done it with us before, the music is going to start playing.